Hello and welcome to another episode of Diplo Strats. I'm CaptainMeme. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And today we are commentating the most prestigious tournament in face-to-face diplomacy, the World Diplomacy Championships. And this was a tournament that you were at, Ezio, right?
Yes, I was.
Over in Athens as well. Nice trip.
Yeah, it was a blast. Absolutely amazing. Huge shout out to everyone for organizing. Spiros in particular did an amazing job.
Nice. All right. Well, unfortunately, I don't see your name on this board. This was the top board. The top 7 players from the tournament qualified for this, as is the normal way of doing things at the WorldDipCon, although it changes a little bit year on year. There is a top board. The person who gets the highest SC count on this board will win the World Championship, regardless of their previous score. Ezio, why aren't you on this board?
Well, I'm not on this board because they're better than me at diplomacy. Is the answer.
There are a lot of very good players in this tournament from what I see. I mean, I'm looking at this list of names here, and I recognize 6 out of 7 of them, I think. Jake Mannix is the exception to that, maybe because I haven't been watching enough DBN recently. But I think you said you've mentioned you've played with him a bunch before?
A bunch is maybe overstating it, but I've played at least 2 games with him in person at Whipping this year, and maybe just at Whipping this most recent one. But I think I played with him before. Anyways, I recognize him a lot. He's a great player. Like, I recognize all of these names. I think Ruben Sanchez is the one I'm least familiar with, but I still know the name. Like, I mean, just you can look at the names, everybody. Bradley Grace is obviously amazing. I had to have 2 boards with him at this tournament, so that's my excuse for not making top board.
Okay, that's fair.
And then, yeah, and then there's Nicolas, and then there's Mikalis, and Edi Birsan, obviously, Ruben Sanchez, Jake. I mean, yeah, just a bunch of Titans. It's really a very impressive final top board.
I mean, if you watch the Diplomacy Broadcast Network at all, you will be very familiar with a lot of these names. There's some standouts to me. Edi Birsan is the guy who invented the Lepanto way back when Diplomacy was first released, pretty much, just afterwards. He's a legendary name in the hobby. Nicolas Sahuguet, the only person to have won both the face-to-face World Championship and the virtual face-to-face World Championship. Bradley Grace, of course, really good player, goes by Grayson online, has demolished me in some games that you will never see on this channel because they are too embarrassing for it, and is constantly pestering me to commentate them. Mikalis actually is part of a friend group that me and Ezio were part of way back when, because he used to play a bunch on Web Diplomacy, right, under the name Hellenic Riot.
And yeah. I might call him HR at some point while thinking about it, because that's how I know him.
That's just the default. We used to play a lot of Civilization with him, weirdly enough. Not Diplomacy so
and
much.
Mafia back on the site, man.
Good times. Ruben Sanchez, I've met him at a few tournaments. He tends to, like, of these names, he's probably the one you'll see on the most top boards at WorldDipCons. He's very good at getting there. I don't know if he quite managed to get to the World Champion, to get the World Champion title in most of the ones previous to this, in all of the ones previous to this, but he's always very close. So he is someone to watch out for. And Dan Lester, if you've seen the UK Diplomacy Championship video on this channel, and I highly recommend watching it, he shows a masterclass of how to play this game. He was incredibly dominant in that tournament, and I managed to get an interview with him during his between his rounds as well, before he went on to win it. He gives some really good lessons in how to play the game. I highly recommend that. So, just a board of Titans, as Ezio mentioned. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this game goes. So this was determined by Paris method, the powers here. The actual rankings going into the tournament had Mikalis, going into the tournament final, had Mikalis at the top, but as per usual with the Paris rankings, you can choose to drop your position to get a better tiebreaker, right? Because the people who choose their country last will get the best tiebreak, and Mikalis chose to drop down to 3rd pick. Everyone else stayed in their initial ranking order. So Dan Lester had to pick last here. Bradley picked his country first, picked France. That's what you'd expect, right? Then Italy went, then Germany, England, Russia, Austria, and then Turkey. So if after the final year, which will be 1910, there is a tie in the top placement, the person who picked their country last will win. So in this case, Dan Lester has a better tiebreak than everyone, etc. All right, with that all out of the way, Ezio, anything you notice about this board? Anything that stands out to you?
Boring. Nobody's doing anything fun. All boring, all DMZs. I assume Galicia is an agreed bounce. This is the most standard L1 possible. I think in the current meta, every move is the most popular move.
Yeah, I guess like Paris and Rare leaving Burgundy empty, I would usually see France going into Burgundy instead. But like, yeah, it's pretty normal to do this, right? And like everything else here is incredibly basic.
Boring. Come on, guys. It's the top board. You know this game is going to get televised everywhere, and they're going to be doing stuff. You got to do something to make things interesting. Notably, to all of my actual viewers, don't do this. Don't. This is bad. But specifically to the people on the top board, you guys should have fun. You guys should go crazy. Anyways, I think we can skip. I think we can go next. I don't think we have to look at this anymore. Okay. I think that's how boring this spring is. We can just go to the next phase. Like, actually, we don't need to analyze this. Look, we're gonna is Nicolas gonna take Trieste? Is the only question, and we can just see the answer to that when we go to the fall. Like,
I'm going to talk about one thing very briefly because it might confuse people a little bit, which is Smyrna to Ankara. We've talked about it before on the channel, and there is a video on it, but it just does look a little weird. It's because Turkey never expects to get 2 builds out of the Balkans in a top board game. Everyone will stop them, and there's basically no top board where it's happened in the last... That's probably wrong. It's probably happened somewhere. But basically, it almost never happens, so Turkey doesn't want to send this army up to block Constantinople, which stops their fleet getting out, right? So they keep it in Smyrna, because that way it can get out of the way if they want to build on this front, or if they want to get that fleet out. Anyway, so, as Ezio mentioned, this is very boring, Spring 1901. It's boring, like, there's a reason it's played anyway. It's the most common because they're all very good non-committal moves, right? Let's see if we get anything with a bit more commitment in the fall. Well, I mean, there's a bounce in Belgium. That's something, right?
Yeah. We see Russia get into the Black Sea, I guess.
That is actually pretty important here, because I don't know, maybe it's agreed, but I know as Turkey, I certainly wouldn't be happy to see Russia in the Black Sea, especially after rotating my fleet to be headed out, right? You would probably want a demilitarized zone. You would probably want Russia to be supporting Ukraine to Romania here to keep that demilitarized zone in the black.
Yep. I agree with that. And it's especially scary when Russia is also getting into Sweden like this, because it means that Russia has 2 builds. As Turkey, you've covered Ankara with your army, which means you can build a fleet in Smyrna, which is nice. But it means that if Russia, for example, builds Army St. Petersburg, Army Sevastopol, then you're potentially in rough shape here. If Russia only got 1 build, maybe you could expect Russia to build it in St. Petersburg, given that there is in Sweden. But with the South, it's like, yeah, this is... As Turkey, I'm feeling a little scared.
Yep. If anyone can get out of this situation, it's Dan Lester, I think. But looking at the board, I would I would bet on Turkey being dead before maybe 1905 from a position like this, because it also, like, Italy did the standard Lepanto opening. They didn't even take Trieste, which is... It's pretty common for Italy to go grab Trieste off Austria in this kind of game, right? But they're clearly friendly enough with Austria to just let Austria have the build here. And yeah, it's just very easy to crush Turkey from this position if these 3 powers want to. And it gets out such a big threat in the end game, right?
Yeah. I think, like... with the Trieste loan being pretty popular, um, I think it's actually kind of a good sign for Turkey that there wasn't a Trieste loan, because I think that's just like standard default Austria-Italy alliance now. That said, Nicolas has been around for a minute, and I don't know how he feels about that current meta. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it'll be okay. And like, if Russia's on side, then the unit in Black Sea is just great, right? Like, it's such an important unit to have. It keeps Bulgaria safe. Means things go fine. So it's just it also means that Russia can be hostile, and like that's obviously scary.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, okay. The other main thing to talk about. All the rest of these moves are pretty standard from this position. There is an interesting thing in that France chooses to send their fleet to Portugal instead of onto Spain's south coast and swapping the army around. But I think this is more common these days as well, just because France doesn't want to act overly aggressive towards Italy early on, right? By putting that fleet down there in a position where it could go into the Med.
Yeah. Furthermore, when you're leaving Burgundy demilitarized like this, there's always the chance that Ruhr just walks straight in, and in that case, you really want your army in Spain able to head back to Gascony
Yes.
faster. Whereas if you send your army to Portugal, it's just more out of the way. And like it's you go after Italy such a small percentage of the time as France right out of the opening. Like even if you go after Italy, usually it's after spending a phase to like build fleet Brest and then send fleet Brest to Mid Atlantic Ocean, and then in the fall you can make a commitment maybe, or you wait another year. Like it's so uncommon to send the attack that the added flexibility of getting back to Gascony. I'm liking it more. I played a game recently in this tournament actually where I went for the old school Mao to Spain South Coast, and I was just pissed on myself the entire game for it. So
Okay. Well, it's good you had that experience so that you can tell us about why Spain South Coast is bad in this scenario, right?
yeah, Spain South Coast sucks nowadays. Don't do it.
Well, clearly the correct solution then would be Spain North Coast.
Mm, now you're thinking with portals.
Anyway, so there's also this Belgian bounce. What do you think is the likelihood that that was agreed? Probably low, right?
I think it's relatively low. I think both of them asked Germany for support in, and I think Germany was able to play it off by just supporting himself in and keeping things fine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you can go to France after this and go, I'm really sorry, I thought England was possibly going to bounce me out, so I felt like I needed to be I needed to put myself, right? And like both of these players are still probably going to be wanting German help. We'll see as we go forward. All right, so anything else for Fall 01, or shall we move to the winter?
Um, I think we've covered everything. We didn't explicitly talk about the lack of bounce in Sweden, but I think that's also very standard nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, I don't know. This was actually I was talking to a lot of people about the Sweden bounce, and I think still old school, and I like bouncing Sweden kind of by default as Germany. But this position, if you can get Russia to build the unit in St. Petersburg, if you go after England, like I think that's pretty good. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I'm very like I tend not to bounce Sweden in most situations as Germany, just because you can quite easily get Sweden regardless of whether you bounce it or not, right? Just by building the fleet and coming up to Baltic afterwards, and I think it puts Russia in more of a position where they're like, and England in a position where they're likely to be hostile to each other. That's my feeling on that one, anyway. If you bounce Russia out, then there's less reason for England to fight them, I think.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. Like, look, man, very good people like bouncing Sweden, like letting into Sweden by default.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, seems fine.
It's always an interesting question. As per usual with diplomacy, there's no, like, this thing is strictly better. It all depends on the context and the situation, right?
Absolutely.
And the players,
Absolutely.
especially. Alright, so let's go through to Winter, then. Winter 1901. Anything unexpected here, do you think? Or this is... well, we see that the Russian builds that you were worried about, right?
I mean, as Turkey, I would be worried about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like again, it's part of the annoying part is like when the opening of the game is so standard, the continuation is usually pretty standard too. And like again, what builds would you expect Turkey to make or Italy to make? I think the most relevant thing is that like France and Germany both built fleets, but the fleet Kiel, fleet Brest, it's potentially hostile against England, but they're also very flexible builds. This could all very easily like fleet London, I guess, but Edinburgh was covered. So yeah, I
Hmm.
don't know. It's like this I think this spring phase is going to be the determinant phase for like what's happening. Like, is there a bounce in the English Channel, or is Portugal going to Spain's south coast and Brest going to Mid Atlantic Ocean? Like, is Kiel going to Baltic Sea or going to Helgoland Bight? Is Denmark tapping North Sea, or is it this phase is where we're going to see a bunch of commitments around England with where these fleets go in the west. In the east, like is Sevastopol going to Armenia or is it going to Ukraine? Or is there like Romania, Galicia stuff? Like what these units have been very flexible so far, and all of these players have put themselves in a relatively uncommitted spot. But I anticipate that changing here, and it'd be interesting to me to see if people can stall this commitment even longer, because maybe they can, but also maybe I think this phase we are going to see a lot of commitments, even if not literally everyone. I think most of the board will commit here.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree completely. Especially with like Fleet Keel. Looking at that, that's the one you always kind of have to commit as Germany to something right now. There's one way of not doing that, which is to go to Denmark and Skagerrak, and then you could potentially go to North Sea or Sweden. But I think that just angers both of your neighbors, so we're unlikely to see it. Um,
Yeah, usually that's saying, "Hey, I want both Sweden and Norway." Um, when
yes.
you're in Skagerrak. I mean, look, there's a way to do it. Kiel support Denmark to hold. Sit on your ass. I wouldn't recommend it. I think that'd be terrible. But I'm just saying, you can always do nothing.
It's possible. Shall we go ahead and see?
Yeah, I think again, this is like the most standard opening as possible. Like the bounce in Belgium, I think is the only slightly odd thing. But yeah, let's go see some moves, then we can maybe start analyzing what the game looks like.
All right. Spring 1902, Heligoland bite. Okay. Over here, actually, I think France is being relatively non-committal still. I wouldn't be surprised if this was an arranged bounce here. Um, Especially considering England
Yeah.
is trying to go into Heligoland bite here.
Yeah. And it looks like England was expecting Germany to go to Baltic Sea with this.
Mhm.
If you were expecting Germany to be hostile to you this way, I would expect you would send Norway to Skagerrak instead. But by trying to backfill North Sea like this and end up just holding in Norway, it's not great. And Russia just sat there. Oh man, I think as England, I think you would actually have rather seen Russia take Norway this phase. Because as is, Russia's going to take Norway in the fall, and you would have rather seen there be a retreat into Skagerrak than just staying in Norway.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's that's really interesting. But yes, it absolutely looks like Eddie in England tried to stab Mikalis here, and Mikalis also stabbed Eddie, but Mikalis did it in the way that like countered what Eddie was doing. Um,
Yeah.
and Bradley at the time, like all the time, just goes, "I think I'm going to go into a slightly better position without annoying either of my neighbors," which is always a good thing to do in diplomacy.
Yeah, sometimes this in fact annoys both of your neighbors, but usually it annoys your neighbors less. And given what's going on in Helgoland and North Sea, I think it's unlikely that Germany and England can get their shit together to mess with the guy who's being annoying. So
Yes. Okay, so anything, well, over the other side of the board, there's a few interesting things. Turkey manages to counter this. Like, Russia does actually go for Turkey, which is kind of to be expected after taking Black Sea and then building Army Sevastopol here, right? But Turkey
yeah.
manages to turn Austria around, go for Romania and Galicia instead, and it works pretty damn well, blows up the army completely here.
Yeah, and I suspect that Jake told Nicola what was going on here because Nicola in Italy doesn't go for Eastern Med and they don't go for Aegean or anything. Like there's definitely a world here, right, where Austria and Italy could have gotten the jump on Turkey. If you knew that Dan was going to be defensive like this, you could walk into Aegean and Eastern Med, and hilariously, you could even accept the support into Romania and then just walk back into Serbia and then be like, "Hey, Dan," because that position would be pretty brutal for Dan to handle, right? And like the world where Austria's in Aegean, Italy's in Eastern Med. It's not the end of the world for Italy because
For Turkey.
the way it works for Turkey, excuse me, it's not the end of the world for Turkey because the armies in Serbia and Greece would be open in that world, so you can't just like force Bulgaria without a retreat. So maybe actually be better for Greece to hold in that universe, but either way, that doesn't happen. We see Nicolas just cover defensively, convoy back, get it to Turnian Sea, just a slight positional improvement. Um, and I mean, I don't know, seems fine. I think this is like we get to see an AT maybe.
It's very possible. This Italy moveset is something I've done a lot in the past, and every time I do it, while I'm doing it, I'm thinking this is so bad. I hate the fact that I have to do this, but I'm having to do this because I can't commit anywhere right now, right? Because it slightly helps you in that it gets you into Tyrrhenian instead of Naples. That's a better position. It stops your army being stranded in Tunis by moving it back to Apulia. That's a slightly better position, right? But if you're going anti-Turkey, for example, then you're probably going to do the same moveset that you would have done this turn, the turn after instead. And then prepare for that convoy anyway, just from Apulia instead of Tunis. It just feels like delaying everything by a turn. But if you do have to delay things by a turn, it's a good way to do that.
I will say it really does help defend.
Mm-hmm.
Like having your army from Tunis back in Apulia is actually a really big deal. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. It stops Austria being able to go in on you, and especially when Austria has just pivoted to an AT, that is a very real concern, right? Because usually the main thing stopping an Austria from going in on an Italy is the fact that the Juggernaut could go in on them and crush them. That's pretty clearly not the case at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely that Jake goes after Nicolas right here after this after committing against Russia like this. That said, if it's actually going to be an AT, then long term Jake is going to work with Turkey against Italy. But right now it looks very much simply anti-Russian.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. So, anything else you want to talk about here, or shall we move on to fall?
Well, I'm interested in this position that Jake finds himself in. Like, I'm not sure what's going on with Trieste, right? Is Trieste holding because he's worried about Venice walking into Trieste, or was it an agreement with Dan that Serbia stayed vacant in exchange for the support into Romania? This is the fact that Serbia is vacant here means that the follow-up that Austria has into Russia is a little bit weaker. Like, great job getting the army popped, but where do you go from here? Like, the instinct of supporting Romania up to Ukraine, and then backfilling is weak here because Sevastopol didn't get into Armenia, can tap Romania, and then if you try to do the moves that I suggested, you end up in Ukraine and Galicia, but Romania is still Russian and Russia rebuilds in Moscow, and then you don't make progress from there. Because Russia's still in Black Sea, Ruben is there's really no good attack from Turkey and Austria against Russia. Like as Jake here, I'm really worried that what I've done is I've just given the Juggernaut a perfect excuse to get their shit together, and that like we're gonna see Sevastopol get supported back into Armenia type stuff, while Black Sea heads up to Sevastopol, and then Turkey like walks into Aegean Eastern Med type stuff. But I'm really scared of them actually working together now because I don't think Turkey is going to get anything from Russia for ages.
Yes. Your main hope as Austria there is that Turkey doesn't want to, like, bring the coalition of Italy, Austria down on them still, because that is still a very real threat to them, even if they do support Russia back in, right? Italy can just start focusing on Aegean and Eastern Med, and Italy is clearly positioning themselves to be able to do that. But if Turkey can go to Italy and go, why not go into Austria instead? There's some tasty dots there. That could be really
so maybe there's a world
devastating.
where so maybe instead of going to Eastern Med and Aegean, you say Eastern Med stays vacant, and then you take a just Aegean from like Smyrna or Constantinople or something,
Mhm.
and then you work with Italy against Austria. The point is, because this attack from Austria and Turkey against Russia it looks pretty toothless to me. I mean, is it like maybe I'm missing something? Maybe this attack is actually going to be brutal, and like
So
with Turkish support, like Budapest gets into Romania types. Like I just don't.
the big thing in my mind that at least wasn't considered in your bit here is just the fact that Austria can walk into Warsaw, right? Quite often they don't, just because it's such a potentially obvious move that Russia covers it, and then you get countered and make no progress, right? But in this position, I think it's actually the best Austrian move, because following up into Ukraine doesn't help. You want to just support hold Romania. You want to ask Turkey to support hold Romania as well, to protect against the three. And then your Galicia unit doesn't really have anything to do. So into Warsaw is a good idea. And that kind of forces Russia to have to do Ukraine to Warsaw if they're going to keep that, which means they only have those 2 units on Romania. Still potentially bad if Turkey flips on you, but it doesn't knock you out if they don't.
Yeah.
I do think I would prefer Trieste to be in Serbia. But hey.
Yeah, and just like it's one of these tough things where like as Austria, Russia was happy to just commit to go anti-Turkey here, right? Like you could have just taken Bulgaria.
Yeah, so you kind of have to make more
Right.
progress out of this than you would have if you'd gone the other way for this to be worth it, right?
Yeah, because again, like with Turkey doing these defensive moves, with Dan playing like this, like Nicolas and Jake could have just gone for the most standard classic. We're just gonna AIR this, and then they would have been in a G and Eastern Med. Like they could have accepted the Russian support into Bulgaria, moved Trieste to Albania, like Budapest to Serbia, and then like even though Bulgaria retreats to Greece, you still just take it off the board and and then you have a pretty classic game, right? Like I think there's a reason why AIR is more common than AT, at least in the games that I'm in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Also,
mean,
not only does AT need to make more progress than the Austria would if they just went in on Turkey, right? It also needs to consider that now, if Austria sticks to this alliance, Turkey is going to be there behind them for the entire game. And that is
yep.
not a position you want in the end game of a top board, having this person with a knife at your back, right? Well, shall we see what happens in Fallout 2?
Yeah, let's see it.
All right. Focusing on the east first here. That's interesting. I mean, okay, so Italy does commit against Austria here very hard. But Turkey seems to be sticking with Austria, although they tap the support at the same time, right? So instead of support holding it, I'm a little confused as what's going on there.
Yeah,
Do you have any idea what's happening here?
I suspect this is some hedge where Dan went to Russia and was like, look, if you double support me into Romania, then I'll take it, right? I will get Romania. You'll show me that you want to work with me, and then like I'll work with you against Austria, but I'll be the one getting the extra build here. I could see that being the pitch. I could see there being some tactical reason why you'd want this as Turkey, but I don't see it right now. I don't see it at all. But like ultimately as Austria, this is really bad for Austria for Jake because Turkey's committing to retake the Black Sea, not able to build a fleet in Smyrna. Um, and Jake did reasonable defense with Trieste tapping Venice, but didn't also have Greece tap Ionian. And so positionally, this is just gonna be a little awkward. And like Italy is gonna have a good position. The good news for Austria is Austria has 6 units and Italy only has 4.
Mm,
But I don't think that's gonna matter. Something tells me Italy's gonna be the one getting Trieste.
yeah,
And like,
I can also see
yeah,
another problem for Austria on the horizon, which is that although Russia loses Romania, they gain Norway and they had that unit blow up, so they're rebuilding, probably in Moscow here, right, given the Austrian unit in Ukraine. And that's going to put 3 units back on the Austrian front over here. It doesn't
yeah. I mean, all
feel
we were
good for the
talking about in the
progress that
north,
they've made.
right? Was
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, like Austria is not going to make progress against Russia anymore.
Mhm.
Like that's completely locked up. Turkey is right. Turkey is going to get the Black Sea and probably force that fleet to get popped. Like that is good, and for Austria at war with Russia, that is also good. It's just problematic when Austria is getting hit by Italy here. And normally, like the saving grace for Austria, the reason why Italy can't do this is that you threaten to give Russia and Turkey all of the gains. You threaten to make them really strong, and then Italy's got to deal with this massive Turkey threat after Austria is dead. But that's not happening this game. There's no juggernaut to contend with, so I think it makes a lot of sense for Nicolas to hit Jake here.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, agreed. It's rough for Austria. We'll see what they manage to do here. I do also want to point out, like, as a Turkey who has rotated their fleet into Constantinople, had to build another fleet in Smyrna, right, after Russia took the Black Sea. Have you ever seen them manage to do this before? Like, keep Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean clear and rotate their fleets back into Constantinople and Ankara to clear Black Sea out after managing to flip Austria against Russia. This is crazy. Like, this is
Yeah,
a...
doing this without losing Smyrna, right? Like normally the Russian fleet ending up in Black Sea is a sign that Austria and Italy just walk in and fully hit you.
Mhm.
And so normally if you're Turkey and you try to rotate back, you do so, but you end up losing Smyrna as a result, and you give Austria and Italy reasons to stick together. But that didn't happen, and Dan did a great job surviving this really brutal opening.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll have to see if it carries forward, but god damn, that is impressive. Okay, the West is less interesting. Much less interesting, but things are happening there, so I guess we need to talk about it, right?
Yeah, I think this looks pretty strong FG at this point.
Hmm.
France keeping Burgundy demilitarized. France getting into English Channel now. Like this looks like it's just right now. It looks like things are really bad for Eddie.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Eddie is just slowly losing everything. I would extend that FG to be FGR right now in this area because I suspect that'll be the case. Although, I guess you would
It's
expect the fleet to go forward if that was the case, right? Maybe?
yes, yeah. If I would call it FGR, I would expect to see Russia take Norway with the fleet. Um,
Hmm. But yeah, but it is slow and steady progress against England. They do have the potential to flip. Some people have the potential to work it with England, especially France. You'll note that France hasn't really done anything here. They move one unit. They don't go for like an Irish Sea attack or up into North Atlantic and readying up a convoy or anything like that. They're just very slowly pushing forward, but also into a position that they can attack Belgium from if they need to, right? It's it's making sure that they have their options open.
yeah, like they're committing against England, but they're doing so in a way that's still safe. Germany did a great job negotiating with everyone in the East to keep everything safe, right? So there's no worries about like there's nobody in Bohemia, Silesia, Prussia. This is the first time we see even a single unit, and it's in Tyrolia. And because Burgundy's still empty, there's no actual threat to Munich. HR is able to cover Munich safely. Like, yeah,
Yep.
great position. I mean, it seems solid. I don't know.
Yep. I will point out that when I'm saying that the West is boring and the East is interesting, 2 units in the West moved on this turn. How many units moved in the East? We had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that makes the East 4 times more interesting than the West on this phase.
Yeah, I like being able to mathematically say how interesting something is or not.
Alright, anything else you want to say about this, or shall we move to power rankings?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okie dokie. Alright, Winter 1902. If the page loads. Hopefully it does. Come on, backstabber. There we go. Alright, so Fleet London off the board. Interesting. So Edi is keeping that army on, but more importantly, he's also keeping Fleet Barentssee on the board.
Yeah, Eddie's pissed at Ruben.
It does seem that way. But, like, even there, this Barentssee fleet is not going to do all that much, right? It can't coordinate on Norway. I guess it can distract the Moscow unit, potentially.
No, just Norway covers it, and then Sweden goes to Norway, and, like...
Yeah, but then he can support himself back. This is...
Whatever. I don't think North Sea is being untapped.
That's probably true. Yeah, it's fair to say, I think this England, like, Edi considers their game maybe over at this point, or they're trying to, like, go for some I'll be your vassal kind of play, and then hopefully manage to build that back into a position that they can come back into the game from, right?
Yeah.
We'll see if that works. Alright, so we see Army Berlin. Interesting. More pointed towards Russia here, but not actually threatening against anyone in particular, I think, because there's no follow-up into Russia, right? And then Army Vienna is just expected, Army Moscow is just expected, right? Anything else you want to say about that?
People are going to build, so it makes sense.
Alright, power rankings. Ezio, who would you say is the... Well, okay, should we start from the bottom, because that's a lot easier, right? I think fair to say that England is last at the moment.
Yep, I agree. 3-center England is not looking good.
Yeah. Alright, so who would you put as second last? That's a lot more tough.
Yeah, I know... I was at the event, so I know how things
no,
finish.
you're gonna make me do it. So, I don't want to have to think.
Yeah, but I can just tell you the final order and then say that I'm the smartest power ranking player of all time. And I predicted it in 02. But because of, like, the real talk is that because I know how things go, I am not as... I'm going to be biased because I am not thinking things are as flexible as they still are. And so...
So you want me to do it, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, you have to, Captain. This is all on you. And then I get to sagely nod.
Alright, so, the first thing that stands out to me, if I'm going from the bottom up here, is I don't like the position that Austria is in diplomatically at all. Now they are at war with all of their neighbours, and I think 6 units might offset that. And when I say they're at war with all their neighbours, they're not at war with Turkey, right? But, like, they might be. I feel like Turkey is opportunistic enough to jump on this, and I feel like there's no way that Italy went in on this without expecting Turkey to join them as well. So, I don't love this position for Austria, but there is a competitor for that slot, and I think that is Russia right now, purely because it looks like England is very anti-Russia, and they're potentially going to throw everything at Russia, right? Barentssee is kind of crazy if you're not doing something like that. So is Russia's position strong enough to counter that fact? I feel like the Westerners are likely to, or at least Germany is very possibly just going to jump on that and take advantage of that to get Sweden and stuff. I think I'm going to put Russia in 6th and then Austria in 5th, purely because of that. But I would not be surprised if it's the other way around.
Let it be known, for the first time ever, we're not just going by supply center count. Because both Russia and Austria have 6, but we are not putting them in first.
Yeah, this is incredible. Such things happen when it's me doing the power rankings instead of you. Okay. So, of the other powers, I'm incredibly impressed that Turkey has managed to pull this back to the position that they have, and just the diplomatic maneuvering that I've seen so far makes me want to put them higher because I know they're capable of that, right? But positionally...
But it's not like the other people are slouches, right? Like,
yeah,
what, we're going to give Dan extra points over Mikalis, Nicolas, Bradley? Like, come on.
They're all
right?
amazing is a thing to keep in mind here. And as much as I like what Turkey has managed to make out of a pretty horrendous position at the start, I don't think it's like top tier on the board anytime soon. The competitor for that fourth slot is Italy here, because Italy doesn't look to be getting much anytime soon because of that massive blob of Austrian armies, right? So, is Turkey better than Italy here? I think Turkey is slightly better than Italy purely because Turkey still has that kind of semi-alliance with Austria, and I think Austria has to try and rely on that right now. So I'm gonna put Italy in fourth and Turkey in third here. And then we go over to the west. The people who are playing the boring moves get to go to the top of the table. That's unfair.
Boring.
And you know what? France is France. France goes at the top. Well done, Bradley. Mikalis is currently in second as Germany. But I think there's good reason for that, right? France hasn't really committed hard against England. They still have a better position against England than Germany does, even though they've been deliberately slow playing it. So I think that's just really good play on the French part, and I'm going to put them in first place. All right, that's the power rankings. Ezio, do you have any comments on them, or shall we just move ahead?
Oh, I mean, the comment that I made was the partway through one, which is just, they look at these 6 center powers, but I honestly, I would put Austria lower. But again, this is where I think my bias is coming through. So let's go next. Let's go to spring of 03. Let's see if the West can be interesting or if they're just going to be boring all the way. All
right, spring 03. Well, that looks like that looks very rough for England in the West. I do see the German army moving to Munich now, which is something interesting, right? That does seem to be positioning on Burgundy, and like now that France has convoyed their army out, that could actually make progress. But it also could just have been I don't want Italy in my center thing, which is very fair.
Yeah, it's just going there via Berlin instead of from Ruhr, right? That's what's interesting about this, because especially like as Mikalis, if you know that England is committing hard against Russia like this, there's a world where where Germany like pivots into like Skagerrak Baltic type, Skagerrak Denmark, maybe whatever, and then goes for Sweden like this, and then tries to capitalize on the weak Russia. But I look, just stay standard, stick to the FG, go and eliminate England real fast. Like, this is fine. Since France is getting Liverpool, I think going for Burgundy is a mistake. That said, as Germany, when can you ever hit France here?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because if France might be getting London as well as Liverpool. It depends how, because Edi is just vacating this area, right? He's going, fine, take whatever you want to. You're the only person who can stop France getting London. France might just bounce you out and go for the one attack into the Liverpool, like go for a supported attack into London, one attack into Liverpool, hope that England is just not going to defend themselves, which seems fair, and then France gets 2 builds and you get nothing.
Yeah.
But
if you do that while going for Burgundy, right, that's...
Yeah, that's a little questionable. If you go for Burgundy there, like if you don't go for Burgundy there, you will never take Burgundy. You will never get another chance to attack France. But if you do go to Burgundy there, you're suddenly surrounded by 1 million units, and you taking Burgundy doesn't matter anyway. So it's not a great situation for Germany, I think.
Yeah, very, like, seriously, not ideal.
Yeah, I think the press line that Mikalis has to play here is basically saying to Bradley, hey, this is going to make you such a board leader if you take these 2 dots right now, that Italy will jump on you. Like, they will find a way to do that, because otherwise we're all going to lose the game, and I'll be forced to go for you as well in that case. You should give me London. Like, you'll be able to take it back when you want to anyway, but at least it makes your power level look a little bit more on par with mine. I don't know how well that will work. I think at least you would probably go for the 2 anyway, right?
As France in this position, you bet your ass I'm trying to take 2. Italy's at war with Austria, so I've got no pressure from the south. Like, if I just C dot take dot, like, I'm insulated against Germany taking Burgundy, because, again, I would build 2, and then I could build in Marseille and Paris if needed. Or, like, maybe Fleet Brest anyways, depending on tactics. Like, it just... Yeah, I if England is letting me take British dots, I'm happy to just take British dots here. I don't feel like this is a game where I need to worry about the board reacting super quickly to fight me. Because, again, the main threat would be Italy pivoting, but Italy's an Adriatic with a hostile Austria. So Nicolas, I would be astounded if Nicolas is able to rotate out to really hit me. And besides, I'm going to be on 7. Germany's going to be on 6. It's not like I'm actually going to be this unstoppable board top threat, because Germany is there to hold me in check. Germany's in North Sea. Like, I think the rest of the board would be happy to see the FG break up, even if it's France who has a slight edge, and then maybe they're going to expect Russia to send their fleet in the north to slow down France, right? And that's all the extra help that Germany needs. So... yeah, I would just say, yeah, let me get strong, and, like, if I have to throw myself in Mikalis, I will. But maybe HR is fine with this, and, like, I put them in Edi. That's a very normal split, by the way. France gets London, Liverpool, Germany gets Belgium, Edi. And then I build fleets, and maybe I go capitalize on Nikolai being weak in the south, and HR goes hit Russia and Scandinavia. Like, that's a very reasonable line, and hey, I'd like to get extra builds to make it happen.
Yep.
So...
seems very fair, and like I think I would do the same in this position. It's just too tempting as France, right? You say that France 7 versus Germany 6 isn't that far ahead. I think it is, because it's France, right? But again, the rest of the board, you as you say, would be happy to see those 2 fighting in any case. It's not like unstoppably strong.
Yeah, it's like a 7 center France usually has the significant edge over Germany, because usually there's going to be some, like, issues where, like, Germany's going to have bounced in Sweden and, like, Russia's going to be hostile, but it looks like Russia and Germany are quite solid. I expect Russia's content to just have Sweden, Norway, and move on with their lives. And then there's going to be no pressure from Germany in the east, and so, like, it's significant, but again, Germany's already in the North Sea, which is part of why, like, France having strength is significant, because France often ends up with North Sea in these wars, but that's not going to happen this time. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be good. Like, I as France, I'm going to grab my dots, and especially with Italy being tied down. If this was a different world where, like, there was the AIR and they cleaned up Turkey really quickly, about as quickly as we're cleaning up England, I would be much more worried about Germany and Italy working together to hit me, right? Like, this is part of the thing when, like, you need to look at the texture of the board, and if your side of the board cleans up quickly, then you can play differently versus if your side of the board is lagging and the other side of the board cleans up faster. So here, I think, because Italy is tied down, as France, I don't have much pressure anywhere else. So let me just crush England as quickly as possible, let me get as much growth, and move on with my life.
Yes. And this is completely unrelated, but I will say every time you slip into saying Mikalis is HR, right, because he's Hellenic Riot Online, it does create some funny implications in that when you say stuff like, HR is fine with me invading Liverpool. It's like, we're checking in with human resources now as to whether they'll allow us to invade this place.
Yeah, that is funny. I hadn't thought about human resources.
Anyway,
but that's good.
We haven't really looked at the East yet, so there is one move here that confuses me a lot, which is Adriatic to Venice. Do you think that's just a misorder?
I assume it's a misorder.
Yeah.
I assume it was supposed to be supporting Apulia to Venice.
Or just tapping Trieste.
Given that Tyrolia... Sorry?
Or just tapping Trieste.
Or tapping Trieste. I could see going to Trieste, yeah. Maybe tapping Trieste would be even better. I'm not sure, but I would... I'm confident that Adriatic was not supposed to be going to Venice.
Hmm. Yeah, it just seems very, very weird.
Yeah, I think I like your tapping of Trieste makes a lot of sense. A whole lot of sense. It
mhm.
actually would completely brutalize this specific moveset from Jake, right? Apulia would end up in Venice. Like Italy would be in Tyrolia, Venice, and Adriatic. So have three on Trieste. And that said, it's not that like it just means that Austria has three units tied down, and then Greece is tied down. Like it's this awkward. Like this war is awkward, right? Because for Italy and Austria, basically four of their units are tying each other's four units down, and then Turkey makes some progress against Russia, but Austria's only got two units, so Austria's not going to get anything against Russia. And I guess Austria's bet is that yeah, Turkey's going to send fleet Constantinople into Aegean, and then it's going to help me break into Ionian, and like that'll be the deciding. But just as if I'm Jake as Austria, like how do we? That's not good for me, right? Like I don't want. Then Turkey's going to be really strong, and I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's rough. Uh,
Yeah, and then for Nicolas, similarly, right? You don't want that to happen because then Turkey gets everything. But what are they gonna do? Like this is just open war. Like
hmm.
yikes.
I I think Nicola is also expecting Turkish supports into Greece soon, maybe, or like now. Probably not this turn, but in the fall at least, right? But
Yeah, I would
Turkey has
be
put off that
astounded.
decision.
Yeah, exactly, which makes perfect sense because you gotta take Black Sea and get the unit popped first. So.
Mhm. Yes. Well, anything else you want to talk about here?
Hmm.
Sorry, anything?
No, I don't think so. I think we can go.
Okay, let's go to fall 1903. Um, see how things are panning out. Where do you want to start, Ezio? I mean,
I think we can look at the West, right? And we can point out that our recommended strategy of taking London doesn't actually help us that much
hmm,
because Eddie covered Liverpool, but it still would have denied Germany a build, but we wouldn't have gone +2, and then we would probably have a German war in our hands. And instead, as France, you don't have a German war in your hands. It's a little tough because Germany's in North Sea now.
mhm.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I wouldn't want Germany to follow up in the North Sea like this, right?
Yeah.
If I'm France, if I'm Bradley, I don't know. I would be really tempted to bounce North Sea and say, look, Mikalis, I'm happy we've cleaned up England successfully, but you're like I want your units in the north going after Russia, not me. I want you to like put a fleet in Kiel if you're going to do a build and send it into Baltic. Right, like that's maybe Fleet Berlin, but I want to see you build a fleet, and I want that fleet to go against Russia. I want that to be where your units coordinate. Like, I'm happy for a unit to go from London back to the North Sea, and then you have three on Scandinavia. But I don't like if I'm France and Germany just goes in the North Sea like this, right? I think this is tension escalating.
Hmm. Yes, and it's also saying to Russia, "Hey, I trust you enough to leave Denmark unguarded," which, as France, I don't think you want. Like Germany is clearly trying to play it off as I'm gonna stick with both of you guys and just go for Austria. But is Germany really gonna just go for Austria? There's no way, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean
what do
this
they get
gets
out of
what this
that?
gets Germany to 7.
Mm,
Yeah, that's not enough.
yeah,
Like because surely Bradley is going to get an extra dot from the north, right?
you would think so. Yes. I mean, maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe he chooses to give Edinburgh to Germany, but that seems unlikely. Very unlikely.
Right.
Mm,
I mean, maybe HR gets Eddie, but then Bradley gets London, right? It's just like the net is going to be France is going to get an extra dot in the north,
Mm.
surely, or they break out of the open war, and just in either of these cases, like I don't know, I'm worried about open war breaking up if I'm Bradley. And it turns out, just like Germany, Russia, I mean, at least the fleet is still in Sweden. Like, here's where Edi's moves have been helpful, right? Russia hasn't been able to position effectively.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I do want to talk about, like, also we can't tell what negotiation actually happened on the board unless Ezio was there and listening in. But I think you were playing your own game during this, right?
yes, I was playing my own irrelevant round 4 that I'm bitter about. That's fine.
All right, we will not talk about that one. But it would be interesting to see just what Edi Birsan's communications on this turn were. I'm super interested in whether he was saying to Bradley, "It's all right, you can have Liverpool." Because in this position, I think I would, right? I would say, "Hey, Bradley, take Liverpool, do whatever. I don't care anymore. I just want to screw Russia," even if I actually do want to stay alive, because that makes Bradley slightly more likely to do the move where he supports into London and then goes to Liverpool. And if you do this with that, then you manage to retain Liverpool and stay on 2 dots, right? That's
Yeah,
something.
pretty great.
I'm very curious whether that happened. I also want to point out that Edi's last dot is Edi, which is a very good, just a nice little touch on this. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up the West then. Do we want to take a look at the East?
Yeah, I mean, the East looks pretty much like we would expect. Turkey has successfully gone into Sevastopol, so well done, Dan. And then Italy stayed safe. Italy's in Piedmont, Venice, Adriatic, Ionian. So this position. Oh, wait, whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry,
There's one
Greece.
thing
Yeah,
here
I missed it.
that happens.
Whoops. Oh, no.
You know, this was a bad guess, right?
Ah.
It's like it's a very reasonable guess against a top level player. You go, well, they're probably not going to get into Greece. They know they're not going to get into Greece. Where would they go? How do they break my line here? They break it by convoying over to Albania. I'll do the clever thing and bounce that out, and then like Sahuguet either does the move that either just goes, I'll tap Greece, I don't care, or goes, I think I expect him to cover Albania, I will tap Greece and take Greece. Either way, it's the same result, right?
Yeah, it works out the same, and that's bad news. I mean,
Mhm.
okay, the good news for Austria, for Jake, is that it's not the end of the world because Greece is one of those centers that Turkey gets greedy for. I say greedy, but that Turkey often just takes. And by giving it to Nicola, you have good incentive to work with Dan against Nicola to say, hey, you can take Greece. Guess what? I'll keep my fleet in Albania and I'll put you in there. Right? Like,
Yeah. It's interesting, and he's managed to keep Dan in Turkey on side at the moment, despite the fact that Dan could have gone in on him. I guess here, actually, he did put a protective support hold in on Romania, so Dan couldn't just take Rum. Could have just gone to Serbia or supported Nikolai into Greece or something like that, but he chose not to, right?
yeah.
So Austria seems to be on side with Turkey still, and this will provide more incentive for that to stay the case, which is very good for Austria because I think this is probably the moment where Italy would eat, not Italy, where Turkey would eat them if they wanted to.
Yeah, and still might, to be clear, but maybe you can delay it. And if like the problem for Austria, right, is just this terrifying world where, okay, now what? If I let Turkey take Greece, right, even if like Turkey needs to build only fleets, but I can't stop it. I don't have the influence. And if Turkey builds an army, I'm still locked in this war with Italy. Like, what's gonna happen, right? It's just, oh yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about here?
Uh, Jeez, just rough day for Austria. I think we can go. I think we can go next. Yeah,
All right, let's go
see the winter.
winter. We're going to see a fleet build in Naples. Interesting. I mean, I guess this front is completely blockaded anyway, so the fleet is probably the best they can do, but Turkey's not going to love that, I think. Army Ankara.
That's bad news for Austria.
Yeah, the most likely destination is just getting convoyed across to Romania, and there's basically nothing Austria can do about that.
Yeah, Russia can't even threaten Sevastopol, so there's nothing to stop it.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
here
this phase is some phase that I have input on. This disband from Jake is a misorder. It was supposed to be Fleet Albania that gets disbanded here, but he wrote Fleet Trieste, so Army Trieste gets disbanded.
Interesting. And writing down Fleet Trieste is an interesting misorder as well, because you could reasonably say, hey, it's clear what I meant, right? But you can't, get away with it. They would go with the territory over the fact
province has precedent over the unit type.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is what Jake told me afterwards. Like, Jake could have been lying to me. I doubt it. But that'd be a funny way to lie. I mean, hey, people lie about things all the time, right? They say if they were gonna throw or not, like, image. But I actually, I have made a misorder on a retreat / disband as Austria, so I know the feeling.
And bear in mind that also these top boards are so high pressure, and you're under a 15-minute time limit. I assume that was the case. It's usually the case, right?
Yes, and then faster, and then for builds, for adjustments like this, there's not explicit time limit. There's more pressure, so it's tough.
Yes,
it's really tough.
But yeah, I was looking at this and going, why would he keep the fleet over the army? I can see one reason too, which is that the fleet can tap Adriatic, right? But usually in this position, when you lose Greece as Austria, even if Italy is going in on you, you want to take that fleet off because most likely the fleet will get disbanded anyway, and even if it doesn't, it's not able to protect most of your dots here. So you just want to, get a nice army core. It'll be interesting to see what Jake manages to do with the fleet in Albania, because it's not all that common of a position for Austria to still have a fleet on in a position like this.
Yeah, I mean, my instinct would be, hey, let me just support Bulgaria straight down to Greece. Constantinople goes to Aegean. The fleet, Greece, just gets popped because Naples is going to Ionian here 9 times out of 10. And then that's... Right? That's reasonable. And then if Turkey agrees to this, Turkey has incentive to not just take Romania straight away. That said, Turkey's built this army Ankara. I don't know. I'm feeling real bad if I'm Austrian.
Yeah, theoretically it could go round to Armenia and then up to Sevastopol, or convoy over to Sevastopol or something, but look at, there's 3 Russian armies there. You're not breaking through that with 2 Turkish ones coming up this way. You need the Austrian line to be strong, and Austria is having to defend this over here. That seems tough. I think it's much more appealing for Turkey to just go jump into Romania here. Okay, so other interesting thing that happens here, another fleet build from both Mikalis and Bradley, which is interesting considering they're both supposedly working together, right? I guess the pretext is that France needs to send fleets around to the Mediterranean now, and Germany needs to take Scandinavia, but I think realistically they're both going, control of the seas up here is gonna be what determines which of us gets on top, right? Which of us is on top at the end of the game.
Yeah. I agree. I think this... That said, these are a Fleet Brest less so, but Fleet Berlin is the build from Germany that I said would be hey, this is anti-Russia, right? I think this does leave the door open for Germany to push for Norway and Sweden, but to your point, I worry that if Mikalis takes his foot off the gas off of Bradley at all here, then he's going to lose London and Edi as punishment. I don't know. Maybe I go for it. If I had seen Fleet Marseille, I would be far more interested in this. As Mikalis, but nah. I think just whatever. HR Bradley are gonna go to war, and that's that, right?
Yep. And we see Edi deciding, I'm keeping this fleet in Barents on to the bitter end. Screw you, Russia.
For what it's worth, I don't understand why Eddie's so pissed at Ruben. Like, Ruben took Norway from him, which was annoying. But like, Ruben needed the build in Moscow, and it's not like Eddie played in a way to defend Norway, right? It's not like Ruben like did anything significantly committal, right? This was just, I don't know, it just happens.
I will say I've been in a similar position to this England before. In fact, we've commentated it on the channel before, the first DBNI game final, right? And I was peeved with Russia as well, purely because like Russia gets to say, hey, I'm not really involved in this. I'm not going to go and attack you in your homeland or anything. I'm just nabbing Norway because I need to, and you're already weak and whatever. And then you're going to Russia because you can't break this FG when they're in Heligoland and Denmark and English Channel and Mid-Atlantic, right? You try to do it, but they're all seeing your dots over here and seeing 3 dots and going yum yum yum. So you're like, who can I get to flip here? Who might be able to save me? Well, it's Russia, because Russia's only getting 1 dot out of this, and they're gonna see Germany and France grow massively if they do this. And like that 1 dot could be crucial for me holding this position. So you go to Russia and you like kowtow, you beg, you go, please don't take Norway from me. I need this. It's just 1 dot, right? It's not gonna change your game massively. Just please let me live. And they go, nah, it's a dot. I want the dot.
And like, it's not again. Remember the position that Ruben was in at that phase, right? Like Ruben had an Austrian army in Ukraine, and Ruben needed to take Norway to get a build in Moscow.
Yeah,
right.
It is reasonable. But from the English point of view, it's quite often like, this person has screwed me over for 1 dot, whereas the other 2 people, I can see why they're doing it, right? But it feels most bad that this person jumped in for the 1 and killed me. I can see why Eddie is doing this, is what it boils down to.
Sure.
Even if it's not really reasonable looking at it from not the English perspective, right? Anyway, we don't actually know what the press was like, and I say press, what the chat was like, just talking with each other, but I could see it being something like that.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to spring?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, spring 04. So, looks like the West is holding together, like they are going to... Germany is getting Edinburgh, is interesting, but it does look
Germany
like
gets Eddie, and then Germany's losing London, that's agreed, surely.
Mm-hmm.
And Germany doing this, but not taking, like... It's the most... There's so much tension on this border, but they haven't actually escalated to open war, right? Like...
I mean, which border are you talking? Because, like, that's true of this border, and it's also true of this border, right? Why is he in Baltic Sea with nothing in Denmark?
Oh, it's easier to get into Denmark, I guess. Right? It was Fleet Berlin. I mean...
It's interesting. And you also see Germany, like, pulling the Italian unit away from the French border down here, which is an interesting choice. I think I would have liked the fact that the Italian is right next to the French border as Germany here, but maybe he wants to power up the Italians so that they can fight France with him. That's probably, like, the most likely explanation here, right?
Yeah, and Nicolas is pulling out of Adriatic, right? Like...
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrrhenian Sea makes sense. I don't know. I don't really understand pulling out of Adriatic.
Well,
Albania. I'm dumb. Sorry. There's a fleet in Albania. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the best ways to counter that would just be to put Naples in Ionian, right?
But I think Naples to Tyrrhenian is kind of necessary, right? With what we're seeing in the West, like, we were talking about the West demilitarizing, and, like, one of the ways that Bradley and HR could work together is that HR goes against Russia and Bradley goes against Italy. And I think it's important then to get a little bit ahead of it and, like, go to Tyrrhenian to just bounce Western Med,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's very fair. Also, Nicolas probably looking at this and going, "Damn, the Turks didn't stab. They came out to a G, and that's really bad, right?" Uh,
Yeah. I mean, that said, it's very reasonable that like Romania still gets lost anyways, right?
I don't think so because you need the Austrian support to hold Sevastopol on this turn as Turkey, right? Um, you don't need the Austrian support, but you do need the Black Sea
But
support, and
you need
that's
at
yeah.
least, yeah, if you take it, it's tough. Okay, maybe.
Hmm. I think I could see that. Like, I could absolutely see Turkey having done these moves on this turn just to allow themselves to stay in position so that they could stab Austria on the next turn. But the fact that Russia is now in Ukraine and along this line means I don't think they can afford to stab Austria here. And I think most likely they will just go to Greece. Although Ionian can hold Greece, right? Because Austria pulled out of Albania. Interesting spot.
Yeah, I mean, Turkey doesn't take Greece as a result, unless Nicolas wants that to happen. Nicolas not going to agree, but like Nicolas not taking Trieste, right?
Hmm. He did manage to blow up the unit up here, which is actually a really big deal because it's hard for, even if he doesn't take a dot, it's really hard for Austria to clear a center for a build here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, completely surrounded now. But yes, there's no way Nicola can push into Trieste unless they think maybe that Russia and Germany might coordinate on Vienna, and so the Austria thinks they need to support hold Vienna. But I think you always support to hold Trieste here because this is a definite attack, right? Whereas this one is like a maybe they work together. um, yeah. Oh, interesting spot, and I feel like weirdly I don't know who has the advantage here at all in the East. It's an interesting position.
Yeah.
Uh, Certainly, I think that the Western powers are doing much better right now. Just in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, the France and Germany Western powers.
Yeah. I mean, okay, England is maybe not in contention.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
but
also
like,
Russia.
yeah, I think both France and Germany are like absolutely massively in contention here. And
Mhm.
then like I think right, I mean looking at this board, I think it's between them or Turkey, which are our three top powers,
Mhm.
right? Maybe and again, maybe Nicola can pull something out. But I think there's a reason our power rankings look the way they do, right? It's just solid, controlled, smooth game.
Yeah. Um. All right. So, shall we move ahead to full?
Yeah, let's go. I mean, yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, here's the full. Bohemius Paul Vienna. Oh, Mikalis, you troll. He is absolutely just doing whatever, like, to stop anyone making progress on this front, right? He powers up Italy a tiny bit by supporting them to Tyrolia, and now he's stopping any progress being made against Austria. When he clearly promised the support from Galicia to Vienna.
Get into Romania
Okay, yes, Turkey gets into Romania. That is pretty huge, and just
because
supports old Greece.
Turkey was able to trust Russia to not go for Sevastopol here.
Mm, yes, and like Russia doesn't get anything else of it. Oof. This is painful for Austria. Weirdly, it looks like Italy has managed to strike some kind of truce with Austria. They're not doing anything against them at the moment, in any case.
Yeah, but Austria is down to four centers. Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, not looking great. Um, it's also
And then in the West, right? Like, Mikalis and Bradley are like, let's both send one on Burgundy. Because I suspect both of them are talking about sending, like, Marseille to Piedmont type stuff, right? And, like, Holland to Kiel, like, back out of Fleur type stuff. Like, I'm sure those are what the negotiations are. And yet, they both could have supported themselves into Burgundy, and then they just don't, right? Because it's
yep.
like, yeah, we agreed to at least put one on it, but also we're not doing anything else with our units, we're just holding. And from Bradley, oh no, I can't leave Marseille open to pull the fleet in the Med. Oh darn it, God, I didn't think of this. Oh, I'm so sorry.
As Germany here, what would you even want France to build? I feel like every build France
Wave.
makes is not, it's not friendly to you.
Wave.
But also, this is the
No,
thing, right? In these face-to-face boards, I assume it was the same as Athens. You're not usually allowed to negotiate in the winter phase, right?
yeah, you're never allowed to. Yeah, in every
Yeah.
face-to-face event, they follow rulebook press.
So Mikalis can't exactly go to Bradley and go, hey, waive this build. I don't want it in Brest or Paris. So Bradley can just go, build a unit in Brest, Paris. Oh, I didn't know that would annoy you. I just thought I needed to build it somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Man. Alright. I'm just also interested in what Mikalis is trying to do here. With Baltic into Denmark, he's not positioning against Norway, Sweden. That Barents Sea fleet is gonna come off, so he doesn't have anything to help him there anymore. He's moving away, so I guess positioning more against France now, but like, is it really positioning more against France? He's not going to make any progress going that way. I don't know what's happening.
I mean, look, this is the even split in the West, where France and Germany have gotten their respective thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
France is on 7, Germany is on 7.
Yep.
Now what?
That is the question. We will see what they choose as the answer to that. I have no idea. Which is a problem because I have to do the power rankings in a second, right?
Unlucky.
Is there anything else you want to talk about on this board before we go through to power rankings?
I mean, poor Austria.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, they at least didn't lose Vienna here. It could have been worse, but it's still not good. Not good at all. I will also say, poor Russia. They enter 5 move orders on this board with all 5 of their units, and nothing goes.
Yeah, but I think their position still improves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Turkey flips against Austria, Germany backs out of Baltic. I think this is a good phase for Russia still.
Yes, that's probably true. But just also Conga line, ouch. Okay, I'm going to go through to builds then and start talking power rankings. Well, maybe after we talked about the builds themselves. Fleet Brest. Bradley going to Mikalis and going, you wanted me to build a fleet, right? I need to go into the Mediterranean.
I mean, the alternative is an army, and I think neither one of them would like that, so...
Yeah, as you mentioned, it really needed to be a wave for Germany to be happy here.
Yeah.
And then Army Constantinople from down Leicester in the corner here. I guess that makes sense. It's interesting to see a Turkey with so few fleets in the Mediterranean, right? And still doing so well.
This is an IT, right? It's just a classic IT.
Yeah, looks that way. And it's also providing Italy potentially the security to send those units against France, because you kind of need them to at this point, or at least France.
It also means that Italy can force a Aegean if Italy wants, but hey.
Yeah, that's why I'm see, this is maybe what separates, well, one of the many reasons that separates me from these people who are actually capable of qualifying for a world championship board, right? My first thought would be, I need to defend Aegean, I need to make sure that I can't lose Aegean. I think I'll put down a fleet just to hold it. Maybe fleet Constantinople so that they know it's not aggressive towards them, but I don't want to be losing that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, they are very willing to just go with the diplomatic approach. Go, okay, I won't be able to defend Aegean if you go for it, but I'm going to make sure it's not in your interest to go for it, maybe.
Yeah. And again, right, you've got potential French problems, right? Like with the fourth French fleet, is France gonna like go to Spain, south coast of the Mid Atlantic Ocean, like force Western Med, right? There's concerns. And also like Turkey and Italy can carve up Austria, right? Part because the West is so like yes, the West cleaned up England quickly, but but France and Germany have not pushed to the line, right? This is not a case of the two of them cleaned up one and then are now like pushing up the rest of the board. This is just no, the West took care of itself and it's now two people who are just as tense as it would be with three, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the East needs to react and needs to do anything too crazy until we see like Holland move to Kiel type stuff, right? But Holland staying in Holland to support Belgium, right, is just very indicative of how things look.
Yeah, this actually raises another point that I hadn't been thinking that much about, which is that you're saying that Italy and Turkey can clean up Austria. There is still a Russian in play here who gets to decide a little bit of what is going on. But that Russian just got screwed over by Germany, which actually sort of ties back to the north as well. How are they going to feel about that up here? That did Mikalis try and play that off as a misorder, maybe? Like saying, hey, I meant to put in Bohemia support Galicia to Vienna, but I accidentally put Bohemia support Vienna. I don't think there's any world where Ruben actually believes that. So, I have no idea. Is the Russian going to help out the Turks and the Italians here in return for getting Vienna? Or are they going to try and help the Austrians hold the line to stop the incoming Turkish threat? We'll see.
Dun dun dun. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Well, I need to do the power rankings still before we move ahead, I suppose. Still on me. Goodbye, Edi Birsan. He is off the board. So we now only have 6 power rankings to worry about. I think very clearly Austria is in last place here and is very likely to be wiped off the board quite quickly. Unfortunate, but that is the reality of playing Austria in these kind of positions. Beyond that, I think my top 3 are correct. I don't know whether Dan would be ahead of Mikalis or Mikalis would be ahead of Dan. I think I'd put Dan ahead of Mikalis purely because I don't see another strong contender in the East right now, whereas Mikalis has to deal with Bradley being there, right? But Bradley just has a better position in the North. There's no real arguing that, I think. He's got 4 fleets to Mikalis' 3. Mikalis needs that Russian fleet out to help him, potentially, if those two go to war. And if they don't go to war, I think Bradley still has the excuse of, I need to funnel things through Mao so I can slow play constantly, right? By only putting 1 fleet. Well, I have to only put 1 fleet through there at a time.
Yeah, and like with the bounce in the Western Med, right? It's a little slow.
Yes.
Furthermore, this army in London, right? If war breaks out between Bradley and HR, then I think Bradley is a favorite to get Edinburgh, right?
Yeah. 100% agree, especially because the Russian fleet that needs to come out and help if Germany is gonna match this fleet count is stuck in Sweden behind an army. It needs to take 2 moves to even get there in the first place. Yeah, I could see Mikalis coming out on top if he does get that Russian help and they both demilitarize this area. It's also, of course, possible no war breaks out at all and they just go this way, or Mikalis goes into Russia and Bradley goes into Italy. If that latter is the case, then I think Mikalis has the upper hand, because I can see him getting dots out of Russia more easily than Bradley can get dots out of Italy. But
yeah, right. Both Germany and France here are tied on 7 centers right now, and Germany stands to gain a lot more from getting like Norway and Sweden than France does from Tunis.
Yeah, completely agree. So I'm gonna keep them in this order right here, but I could see Mikalis being higher if they end up sticking together and going into their respective neighbors. Okay, so then the question is, between Russia and Italy, who do I place above the other? I think, like, I don't love the position of either of them. I think they're both pretty terrible in this situation, just because they're both scrabbling to keep up with the other powers, right? And they don't have incredibly clear expansion. But I think Italy is more likely to get some kind of expansion than Russia is, because Russia's only real option is getting supported into Vienna here, I think. Whereas Italy can carve this up with Turkey if they stick with the IT. But I think they're like well behind the contenders, which is why I've got them like this in the power rankings. And that is all of them. Any other comments you want to make, Ezio, or shall we move ahead?
Seems fine to me.
Okay. Let's go ahead to spring 1905. And here we are. How much of these are arranged bounces? They're not arranged, right? There's no way that's all arranged. I'm so confused. What is going on this list?
I think there was supposed to be a bounce in Clyde, and I think Bradley was okay with Eddie moving out. But I think Bradley vacating English Channel was arranged. Right.
I don't understand any of this. If there was supposed to be a bounce in Clyde and he decided to cancel that bounce, why not also just stay in English Channel at the same time? Like,
yeah, one is more hostile than the other, I guess. I don't know. I don't really get it. And then again, just like by moving up to Wales like this and leaving English Channel vacant, yes, now like HR is free with Belgium, right? Like, Belgium is not under any threat anymore. And obviously this 2-strength attack on Burgundy was agreed and arranged. Like, they've been dancing around Burgundy this whole game. But, like, it's weird to me that so little is happening in the West.
So little is happening everywhere. I know we haven't looked at the East yet, but, like...
Yeah, I haven't gone there yet.
These are the only two units that move on the whole board, Edinburgh and English Channel. And their moves are useless. They're both actively detrimental to the positions of the people who moved them. I understand if English Channel is supposed to be freeing up Holland so that it can go this way, right? But unfortunately for Bradley, that also means that English Channel has freed up Holland to get convoyed into Great Britain if Mikalis wants it to. Which is maybe not something you want to allow. At the same time, this bounce in Western Mediterranean is so blatantly arranged as well that, like, Mikalis isn't going to be happy about moving Holland away. Why not just go to North Africa if you are actually going against Italy here? I think, or into Spain South Coast even, preparing something like that, instead of going to the place you know is not going to make it. They're slow playing this, but the moves don't make sense to me for slow play. Like, things like this. What are you doing?
Nothing. A whole lot of nothing.
That is the correct answer. Man, I don't know what to say about this phase. There is one thing that's happening right now, and that's Italy trying to support themselves into Aegean, which tells us that Italy is not comfortable with the IT, wants to attack Dan Leicester potentially, or at least...
but Italy clearly told, right? Turkey knows this, which is why Bulgaria cut Greece.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a double tap, right? So it was a just in case for both directions, or at least it looks that way. But then why not have I don't know. Well, okay. I really have no idea on that front. Maybe it's just a fake out to make Austria think that Italy is working with them for a phase, and then they go in and kill them on the next one. I have no idea. We're supposed to be
Yeah.
commentators. We're supposed to be able to explain this stuff. Why is diplomacy such a hard game to figure out sometimes?
Well, it's because nobody's doing anything. There's nothing to explain.
Yeah, it's true. The things that are happening don't make sense. Shall we just move to, like, full 05 and see what happens there? Right.
Yeah, let's go to the tournament. Centers can change hands.
Alright, come on, do something. Okay, they do something. Nice. Okay. Right, where do you want to start?
Well, Bradley doesn't do anything. All of his units stay.
But that seems to be Bradley's MO this game, right? He's been doing nothing except taking the centers that, like, those two centers in England that he very easily had access to and was against a person who was already an outcast. He's not declaring war on anyone. He's just sitting in the corner and going, I'll let it go to 1908 and then I'll grab, like, 2 dots from someone and win. I think that might be his intention.
9 centers, right? But, okay. So, okay, that's Bradley. Good. If we look at the East, right, we see that Ruben gets back into Sevastopol. Dan loses it. But they do coordinate on Serbia. So this looks agreed between the East.
Also, Sevastopol being taken off the board, notably, instead of retreating into Armenia, which I think is very important.
Yeah, it's important, but I think that's because Nicolas did get into Aegean here.
Yes.
And so they want to rebuild it as a fleet smear, I would expect.
So yeah, given this down here, it does look like that attack on Aegean last turn was a real attack, and it was potentially something that Dan predicted and countered with that double tap on Greece.
Yeah.
But now this turn, there's nothing Dan can do to stop that, right? There's no... Well, he could have tapped Greece, but...
Yeah, not while taking Serbia still.
Yes, exactly. I think he saw the fact that Austria and Italy have now teamed up, goes, I need Russia on my side, that's the only possible ally that I've got. I can give up Sevastopol for that. Yeah. And he gets a build out of it, so gets to put down that fleet that's necessary down here. Yeah, anything else you want to say about that area?
I mean, what more is there to say? It's like, what does Russia build, I guess, is the main question.
I would anticipate it would be something in the north. I don't think they'll... Well, maybe Army Warsaw, actually. I don't know, it's so weird. Like, what is Mikalis doing up here? I don't understand anything going on right now in this area of the board. It doesn't make sense. I'm glad that Ruben has managed to rotate his fleet forward now into Norway, and now he becomes a more active participant in this. But I don't know what side he's going to take. And, like, Mikalis' moves have not been threatening against either player adjacent to him yet. So he's leaving his options open. Going up to Norwegian, I guess, can now support himself to north if he wants to grab Norway, or go into North Atlantic and Clyde if he wants to grab Liverpool. That seems less likely. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm going insane. Alright. Anything else you want to say about this?
Nah.
Alright, let's go to winter 1905. Fleet Smyrna as expected. Okay, no misorder on the fleet disband this turn for Jake, and this is definitely the correct disband in this position. As much as it's nice to support Italy and Greece, it's more important to keep your own centers. And then Fleet St. Petersburg North Coast. Okay. Ruben wants to be heavily involved in this west, whether he's going against Germany or France. The North Coast indicates that it might be against France, but...
I think that Ruben looks at the west and he says, if I don't do anything, neither one of them are ever going to do anything, and for the sake of the viewers, I need some action in the west, so fleet in the north to start moving.
Thank you, Ruben, for saving the commentary. Yeah, North Coast is interesting, because if you build a fleet in South Coast, then obviously Germany is going to attack you straight away, because that is blatantly anti-them. You can say that this one is going to be anti-France, and, like, Germany might not believe that, but at the same time, it's potentially true, so Germany isn't necessarily going to throw stuff at you, right? In response to this. Alright, shall we go through to spring?
Sure, let's do it.
Alright, spring 06. Movement! I see movement everywhere! It's a miracle!
Movement in the West! The game is... They're still playing diplomacy! Woo!
Huzzah! Okay, that's...
To be clear, not that much movement in the West, but some movement in the West. More than we've seen previously.
Yes, and it looks like
the
Ruben...
big one, right, is the self-bounced English channel, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, go ahead and talk about that a second.
Just like, when we're talking about movement in the West, like, Bradley could have been more efficient with his units, right? Like, Wales could have gone to London, Brest could have gone to English Channel, like, Mid-Atlantic Ocean could have gone to North Atlantic Ocean. There was potential for Bradley to commit much more to this front. So this isn't like Bradley was, like, declaring war on HR or anything, but definitely something changed. Progress happened, I think, because of that fleet, St. Pete, North Coast. Yeah. I think it got both France and Germany to feel like there's progress. France maybe, like, this fleet can go either way, but based on the past, probably they're going to stick with Germany, and so this means that Bradley needs to get into, like, actual defensive position, maybe?
I don't know that Bradley... Because surely he would have moved into English Channel if he was actually expecting something like this, right? Because then at least you've got the pressure on Belgium. I think that he was hoping, like, he's putting into Irish Sea and North Atlantic Ocean to protect against the potential to attack on North Atlantic that is now very possible from Russia and Germany. But at the same time, he doesn't want to go so far in on Mikalis to say, you know, you can't go against Russia. He's hoping that Mikalis will go against Russia here in response to Russia building that fleet.
But that seems really unlikely now. And Mikalis has 3 armies on Burgundy, right?
Yes, and that's huge because France doesn't have any builds coming up, and they've got 1 army stranded on the in the British Isles, not able to get back.
Channel is vacant, so they can't even cut Belgium.
Like, where are they going to get that build from? They need to... I think, actually, right now, even though it seems a little dumb, you want to let Russia and Germany take North Atlantic. So you want to do something like self-bounce Liverpool here, blow up your North Atlantic unit, and then rebuild an army at home to try and defend yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a
and like send Marseille to Gascony, I think, do that in the spring as well.
Yes. We'll see whether he chooses to do something like that. His other line of defense is going to the Russian and going, hey, any way you could stab Germany here? Like, I'm sure I can get you Edinburgh. Given the position, you could even convoy in if you really wanted to. Yeah. But I don't know how successful that would be. That seems not great. And then, if we look in the east, Turkey having a rough time of it. They lose Romania. That one's agreed, it looks like, but they also lose Serbia at the same time and fail to get Greece. This is a... There's no guess here, right? They just couldn't get Greece?
But that said, they did really good moves defensively here by forcing Aegean. It's been popped, right? And so now they can actually probably get Ionian. It's like they could guarantee Ionian if they want it. But alternatively, I suspect they can use Albania to mess with Trieste, and I suspect Russia's going to, like, get Budapest or something.
Unfortunately, I don't think they can take... Oh, they can. Yeah. Sorry, it is a spring phase, so they are okay on that front. I was going to say Italy can rebuild in Naples, but that's not for another turn, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, you are correct. That
Or like just force Greece type stuff. I think Greece isn't actually forcible, but like you can make it pretty likely.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Actually, I would probably do moves that. But point is, I think this is now just a late forming juggernaut against the late forming AI. And normally this would be problematic, right? Like if you talk about this alliance structure still being the case in 1906, right? If you like, yeah, so France and Germany have already eliminated England, and then in '06 we're seeing Juggernaut versus AI. The assumption is that like whoever wins the war in the West is just going to win the game. But because the West has taken so long to get to this war, which is still not even like I think Germany is I think HR has declared war on Bradley at this point. I think that's officially happening. But like it's so late coming and Russia has influence now that it's not even just gonna like decide the game, right? It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, this will be really interesting to see. I do also want to give shout out to Ruben, not only for actually managing to mobilize the West and make the commentary interesting on that front, but also just coming back from a position I thought was pretty terrible. Like, look at the power rankings, and now look where he is. He's in Romania, he's gotten into Norwegian Sea, like, he's gotten the German out of Denmark for him. Turkey is now weak. It's a fantastic turnaround on that front.
Balance of power players. Can't trust them.
Alright, shall we go through to fall?
Yeah, let's see it.
Alright, fall 1906. Here we go. Okay, Bradley does not choose to take the unit off up here. He is instead going all in on the defense of the British Isles, which makes sense too, I guess, but I am worried about his homeland.
It's not that bad.
Yeah,
right?
he's managed to replace an army with a fleet up here, which actually does help quite a lot. The fact that he can now like self-bounce Gascony and stop any progress being made there is pretty big.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Germany gets Vienna. Sheesh.
Interesting. That's a well, I guess like Russia and Germany are definitely strongly working together, right? So it makes sense from an alliance perspective. But I don't know that you want to power Germany up that much as Russia here.
Yeah, with the positioning of it, right? Like Russia getting into North Atlantic Ocean from Norwegian Sea, it's potentially concerning, right?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yes.
Like this is a position where, as Russia, I want to be schlepping Germany forward as much as possible. But I guess we're putting Germany in Liverpool next year is the idea.
I guess that's the hope. But in that case, why are we giving him an extra center here? Right? I
Well, because
feel
I'll
like.
get Vienna next year then, right? I
Hmm,
just like Germany gets to build something.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. As Russia, I don't want Germany building anything right now, right? I'm actually pretty okay with them being static for another phase.
Yep.
I don't know. Game's hard.
All right. So, well, I mean, yeah, that's a. It's a bit rough here. Like Bradley also doesn't seem to be losing very much on this front. He does still have the French advantage, right? So it's gonna be a while before they make significant progress, but they have at least managed to
Yeah.
push forward.
I mean,
Um,
look, it's the France advantage, but also like Bradley spent like a couple years just being defensively holding his units, right? Like any power with seven centers that does that is going to be hard to crack,
yeah,
right?
that's true.
Except maybe Austria.
As we're seeing, that leads us into the east here, which, ouch! It seems Nicolas Sahuguet got outplayed. Um, I think that Turkey offered him the chance that the three of them would just blow like Austria up, and then Turkey would be able to pivot against Russia, and they could form this IT. And then
Yeah.
Turkey just decides, no, I'm going to take Greece. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if we look back at the diplomatic relations, right, I think we saw that Nicolas was the one who broke the IT at the start. And
Yes.
then he was going back to Dan, who was probably saying, hey, let's, like, we need to do something about Russia after this, right? Russia and Germany are too close. Like, if France, Italy, and Turkey go hit Germany and Russia, then, like, we can have a playable game. And I suspect that because Nicolas was the one who broke it at the start, he then felt like Dan would still take it. But instead, like this isn't great for Dan. like this phase was good, but because Dan's spring was so bad, losing both Romania and Serbia, I think this fall is just keeping him at parity, right?
Yes, but it's a pretty good not French, what am I saying? Turkish juggernaut position, right? Getting into Serbia, Greece, having this front line just working with Russia pushing forward. I wouldn't be surprised if they just stick with that. Now,
Yeah, but it's not as good, right? Like, yes, they've disbanded. Like, they have disbanded two Turkish units and excuse me, two Italian units and Italian staying neutral. But like, there's going to be a fleet Naples and then presumably fleet Rome, and so like, Ionian's never getting cracked.
Yeah, that's probably true. All right. Anything else you want to say here, or shall we go to the winter?
We can go to winter and power rankings.
Okay. So winter builds. Army Albania comes off. That's expected. Army Venice, Fleet Naples. Interesting. I think that's just because Nicolas probably doesn't see a way that he gets any centers out of an extra fleet, right?
Yeah, and the argument there's only two. I thought that Lester was building. I thought he disbanded something, but he hadn't. And so there's only two fleets in the south for Turkey. So if you're just defending, you only need two fleets yourself. Trying to break this position with a third fleet as Italy doesn't happen, and armies are more important. Like Tyrol is going to be relevant, and like Vienna's maybe your next dot. So I think the army makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's very true. And you can hopefully count on. You can maybe ask Germany, hey, look, can I just have Vienna because I'll use it to put down something that can harass France and break his line or something? Maybe that'll work. I don't know whether that'll work.
Yeah, that would be the use for the extra fleet.
Yeah. So also we see Army Moscow, my favorite build. It's the
I guess it doesn't
I'm
do
friends
anything.
with everyone. Yeah. It's like a more active wave. Then we
Expensive wave, I agree. Yeah.
And then we have Army Kiel on the board, which is not a fleet, so not threatening to Russia, and I think that's probably why there's an army here. But it also doesn't really make much progress anytime soon, I think.
Yeah, it's like, look, if you're gonna need extra armies, especially if you want to hang on to Vienna, right? Like you're probably gonna have to get into Bohemia, and if you're sending Munich over to Bohemia, then you're gonna need extra time. Furthermore, if you're going for this war against France, like you're gonna eventually need to get an army in Gascony. That's like how you break this position as Germany. Obviously, though, getting an army in Gascony is a pain. So, right, assuming France just self bounces in Gascony, which is what France is going to do here, like 9 times out of 10, right? Here's the perfect time for the hostile support. So you support either Paris or Marseille into Gascony, so one of them gets in. Then in the fall, there's this thing where, hey, look, there's still two units. They're next to each other now, so there's no self bounce, but there's only two dots. So then if both of them cover the centers, then you could walk back to Gascony in the fall. So maybe you make progress. The problem is in the fall, they don't have to just cover the centers. Like France has two units, there's 3 places to cover, and France has a 2/3 chance then of getting it right every time. So unlucky.
The alternative here, of course, is if they are self-bouncing Gascony, you do have the chance to cut English Channel and push yourself into Picardy, but then they could also slip into Belgium if you do that. So it's a question of, do you value that enough to give up like a bunch of pressure on the UK at the moment, which is interesting. I'm gonna jump into power ranking here. I think it's fair to say Austria is not as in contention at all anymore, less so than they were before. All right, so Italy, I think, is in second last at the moment. They are very much on the defensive against this juggernaut now. They don't seem to have any expansion possibilities. They're going to be pinned down in Ionian Sea at the same time. They really desperately need to get another build from somewhere, and they're going to have to negotiate hard to get that. And even with that, I don't see them being incredibly in contention. So I'm putting them second last. Oh god, then we get to the hard ones. Man. So theoretically, France should not be particularly high up on this list because they are at war with two of their neighbors in the north and they're purely on the defensive. They don't have much in the way of expansion either, but they're not losing that much anytime soon, right? Wales can support hold Liverpool here to stop that ever going through. English Channel can support hold London to stop this attack, right? They can, as mentioned, it's a bit of a guessing game around their homeland, and someone might get bored eventually and stab someone else, and then France is good to go. I really love the Russian position in the sense of how well they've managed to turn it around, and the fact that everyone is pointing away from them now. Turkey is pushing this way, like Germany is pushing this way, Austria is nearly dead. At the same time, it seems quite vulnerable, because Turkey still has these units on the line to push up into them if they really want to, right, to turn around, and I could absolutely see Turkey doing that. I'm just going to have to make a judgment call on this, aren't I? This is really hard. I think I would love the Russian position a lot more if they pushed the German fleets forward instead of themselves into North Atlantic Ocean. Which was something you mentioned before. Okay. So, based purely on vibes, I'm not explaining anything more to do with this. I am putting Russia in 4th place. I am putting France in 3rd place. I'm putting Turkey in 2nd place, and I'm putting... Am I putting that? That seems... Where is Germany getting their expansion from? This doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm leaving them as this. This was my vibes-based ranking here. Any comments from you, Ezio, or are we just going to move on?
You said we're not allowed to make any more comments on this one?
Okay, fine. Let's go to spring 1907. Alright. So. I don't know where to start with this one. So clearly, Italy wants to get that build off of Vienna, and Mikalis does not want to allow it. Okay, the big momentum shift here. Turkey has indeed gone in on Ruben and attacked Romania. Ruben again getting Conga line bounced. Galicia, Ukraine, Moscow. That's painful as a result of someone not keeping their word. Which frees up Italy's units a little bit in the process. And then we have whatever is happening in the West. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that this peace between Italy and Turkey is good for both of them and their winning chances.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if the two of them just stayed at classic war, then neither one of them really make progress. And I think, like, they're not in contention, right? Like, Turkey's only on 6, Italy's on 4, so they both need to get growth elsewhere. And, like, yeah, Italy's going to get Vienna at some point, and Turkey has just got Romania and is probably going to keep it. So, like, I don't know. Seems solid.
Yeah, and then the West. Germany got into Picardy. Why did France go back to Brest? I'm not sure what was going on there.
Mid-Atlantic Ocean, right?
Oh, yes. Okay, they do need to cover that. I didn't think of that. That would be pretty horrendous. If Russia did go in this turn, they would get Portugal for free even. But there wasn't much Bradley could have done about that without potentially losing something on the front line. Good guesswork from him. And now he has something back to cover that. But Mikalis is now threatening Brest and Paris, and he can push another unit through into Burgundy immediately afterwards. Yeah, Russia moving up into Norwegian Sea and their army forward into Norway. I don't know who that's advantageous for. It takes the fleet away from threatening the Scandinavian dots and these dots around Germany, but it's also... Sorry, it also is threatening that convoy over into Edinburgh, if he really wants to go for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect a convoy to Edi.
Yeah. But that might be why you go for it, because Germany would never expect it, right? No,
Yeah, but it's kind of bad.
yeah, I think if you stab Germany right now as Russia, you are well and truly cooked. There is no...
I mean, okay. How cooked are you actually, though?
I mean, look at the South. It's an Italy,
But the
Turkey.
South is going to be the South no matter what, right?
Mhm.
Like, if why not side with France against Germany?
Maybe that is the play. I don't know. So say you convoy into Edinburgh without Germany expecting it. So you get the one build from that, except you don't get the build because you got knocked out of Romania at the same time. I was gonna say if you build, you can build in Warsaw and then jump into Silesia and Prussia. Try and kill Germany as fast as possible so that you still have a decent center count. But then France just wins the game, right? Like.
Yeah, probably. I think if you stab now, right, it's 07, so there's like 3 years left in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After this, there's going to be 08, 09, and 010. And so even if you make the stab, that's enough time for France to get stuff out of it. That said, I think that Germany can't fully defend against you, right? If Germany turns around, then France just wins. And like you can say, yeah, I just wanted Eddie because I was losing stuff in the south, and like, hey, an army Eddie means we take Liverpool, right? Like, it actually is better tactically against France for there to be that army there.
Actually, yeah, that's totally the line you play. You just take Edinburgh without Germany, like without informing Germany, and then go, it's fine, we're not at war. And Germany is incentivized for that as well. Yeah, I like that approach. Alright, anything else you want to talk about here, or shall we go ahead to the
Notably, that press style works much better in online press.
Yes, that's true.
Where people have like long times to think and react and respond. Because like the first and emotional knee-jerk, oh, you just convoyed into Eddie, I'm pissed at you, right? And they're going to be pissed at you. That's a thing to just that I'm learning as I get better at face-to-face versus online games. Like, yeah, online, I think you can just do that as Russia and it'll work most of the time. But I think in person, I doubt it will be successful.
That's definitely a trap I've fallen into plenty in my face-to-face play. Like, I'm quite a good press diplomacy player. I am not an amazing face-to-face player. And one of the reasons is that I make these little minute stabs that I might be able to get someone to not care about in online, but they do care about it when they only have 15 minutes to think and I can't talk to them as much.
Sure, they got less than 15 minutes to think. Because you need to make the decision, start talking to people, like, you need to start going in real time, and then you need to negotiate with everyone and make it all happen in the 15 minutes. Like, people make split decisions, and it's necessary in face-to-face.
Yeah. It's also why I'm like so impressed by players like, say, Grayson and Mikalis here, who have very successful online diplomacy careers, I guess. It's not really a career, but you know what I mean. And then convert that into being insanely strong in face-to-face after being solely online for so long, right? This is... like, being able to adapt from one to the other is not as easy as you think it is. I think Ezio can confirm that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did want to point out one more move here, which is Eastern Mediterranean to Constantinople. Oh no, I didn't manage to back off the line, Italy. I'm so sorry about that. I misordered this fleet.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll just leave that hanging and we can go to fall, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go to fall, I agree.
Alright. Fall 1907. Germany does get kicked out of Vienna now, and that's with Russian help. And Russia does go for the Edinburgh convoy! Yes! But also, Mikalis predicts it, does a self-bounce, and stops that in its tracks. And gets into Burgundy at the same time. But yes, he has countered the Russian stab on him in the north. He has not managed to counter it in the south, but
Russia supported Vienna to hold, right? Oh, so it wasn't a stab.
Oh, I thought that was a
Uh,
support of. Oh, it's Austria who supports Tyrolia into Vienna. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so what happened here then? is this
I
what
think
people
well, if
think?
Russia had stabbed in the south and convoyed to Edi, then it would be open war, right? I think Russia was trying to go for the look, let me into Edi, and then we'll take Liverpool and it'll be fine. But
Hmm.
instead, Mikalis didn't want to do that.
Yeah, it does. It does look that way. All right. So yeah, Mikalis has managed to go down a dot, unfortunately, despite that. But he is in Burgundy, which is big. Burgundy and Picardy at the same time. Still doesn't guarantee anything, because this is France we're talking about. But it's a good position.
France, 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 France.
And Dan Lester in the corner on Turkey, now on a happy 7, actually does manage to move his fleet back this time. Maybe it was really a misorder last time. It definitely wasn't, but hey. And just sitting there in Romania and supporting the Austrians to hold. Jake hanging on, still alive in this game somehow. Alright. Anything in particular you want to talk about here, Ezio, or shall we just move ahead?
Just that Germany's disbanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a really important disband.
Yeah. Actually, looking at these orders, there is one other thing that I want to talk about, which is how, like, the Russian orders lack cohesion completely. You can see down here, Ukraine support Galicia to Romania, Sevastopol support Galicia to Romania, Galicia support hold Vienna, Moscow tap Sevastopol. These units have all been ordered to do things that contradict each other, and this is someone... I think this is someone who the plan has been changed very quickly on, having to rewrite certain orders and just thinking, you know, I need to get the ones that are important in and throw it in the box. I don't have time for this, right?
Yes, if you miss the deadline, then your orders are unread. It's not drop dead, but it's pretty tight, and people are trying to make it happen. So it was a get your orders in, and like updating Ukraine to support hold Sevastopol in Moscow and stuff. Like if you're running out of time, you can't update those orders. You have to get them in the box. So
Yeah. It's just...
yeah,
So the one thing that confuses me about this, right, is I would understand it if it was like Moscow support hold Sevastopol here.
yeah.
But it looks like there's 3 different order sets that have all sort of been written at different times. Moscow tap Sevastopol doesn't really make sense with anything else that's going on here, even with the Galicia into Romania move, right? It looks like he switched Galicia support hold Vienna at the last moment. Maybe he got word as to the fact that this was happening, and was going to switch Sevastopol to go into Romania, so wrote down Moscow to Sevastopol, and then his order had to go in. Something like that, right? Seems really painful, but ultimately doesn't actually affect him very much. So it just goes to show.
It could have been really punished, right? If Turkey had gone for Sevastopol, and this would have been catastrophic, right? This just blows up his whole game because there's no bounce in Romania. Like it could have been really, really, really bad. Instead, because it was just totally fine, right? One phase.
Yeah.
Good alliances are more important than good tactics.
Yep. It just also goes to show how high pressure the orders writing can be in these games. Shall we go ahead to winter?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we are seeing a German disband and an Italian build. Oh, and a Turkish build.
And a Russian disband, right? And a Turkish build.
Not a good turn for the Russia-Germany alliance, all things considered. And Picardy comes off. Oof. I don't know that I love that. It looks like Germany is then trying to piece Bradley out?
Which is kind of crazy, right? Like,
you just got
there's so many brutal guesses, right?
Yeah. I was so convinced Bohemia was coming off here, because Bohemia doesn't do anything for you directly, right? You're not getting back into
Belgium.
Vienna.
Like, I could see Bohemia to keep the line, but like Belgium surely over Picardy.
Yeah. Huh. I really hate that disband. The Russian one I'm fine with. Like, you need to keep your units down here to some extent, although I don't know where Russia is going to get their dots from now.
Well, they've still got two northern fleets, right? Like, you can take
Yeah.
Edi without convoying. It's just kind of worse.
That's true, and can potentially take Liverpool if you push things forward and win some guesses somewhere, but not if Mikalis takes frontline units off.
Well, Pickard doesn't really affect the guesses around Liverpool that much, right?
Well, it frees up Brest, which means Brest can cover Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which means English Channel is free to support hold London, which means Wales is free to support hold Liverpool, right?
Yeah, it does. Well, then you could go to like Irish Sea, North Atlantic Ocean type stuff, right?
Yeah.
Although then you lose Norway.
That's true. It's complicated tactics-wise. I think I'd prefer to talk about what actually happens when we get there rather than speculating too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, we're making lightning speed through this commentary.
We are.
Record pace.
All right. So we also see Rome and Army Ankara. Army Ankara makes sense. You need to go into Armenia and push up into Sevastopol, right? Army Rome, interesting choice. I am fairly certain that everyone was hoping that would be a fleet to go against France here, except France, who was probably quite happy with this.
Yeah, also a fleet might have been correct, right? This is one of those rare cases that like doing the thing that everyone wants you to do might actually work. Because I think here you could reasonably like Piedmont, Western Med, Tuscany, Gulf of Leon. Like I think Marseille might actually go. Right? And like Marseille, Spain, Portugal, like if you get those three as Italy, 1, 2, 3. It's tough to win, but maybe.
Yeah,
There's only 3 years left of the game, right?
Yes, that is true. I wonder if Mikalis was betting on this being a fleet and therefore Bradley having to pull back to defend against it and just going, this is the moment I piece out Bradley and just go all in on Ruben.
Yeah, Ruben was annoying with the convoy to Edi, right? So.
Yeah. But with the army Rome, that might be a mistake, because Bradley is not going to be like pushed back on the southern front. Okay, I say that. Actually, Nicolas can just go Venice to Piedmont, Tyrrhenian Sea to Gulf of Leon, and hope that this army isn't within range of supporting Hold Marseille, right? You can do this with just 2 units if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Well,
do you think you're going to get lucky?
I think it's a real possibility if Mikalis doesn't just walk away. But this makes me think Mikalis is probably going to walk away, which makes this less good.
Yeah. Something's going to end up in Gascony, right?
Yeah. Well, shall we go ahead and see?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, spring 1908. Yes, that is a unit ending up in Gascony. And, I mean, Nicolas doesn't even go for it. Fair enough. I mean, I probably wouldn't either after seeing the disbanded Picardy. But what is Mikalis doing? He's pivoting away from France, but he's not going in on Russia.
Alright, so the units that moved this phase, nothing in the east except Ankara to Armenia. Everything else east of Munich, held or bounced. Norwegians back in Norway. Sure. Just countering that potential stab.
But North Atlantic holds.
Slash shrug.
So Ruben was well aware that Mikalis is backing off of Bradley, right? But he's not willing to give up on this attack. He wants to be in North Atlantic Ocean, wants to have that shot on Liverpool if Mikalis changes his mind. Maybe he also doesn't want to seem too aggressive to Mikalis by going back into Norwegian Sea with this, but I don't love staying in North Atlantic Ocean here. I think you gotta pull back.
Yeah, I think having fleet, like, unit cohesion, right? North Atlantic Ocean should be a Norwegian.
Yes. The one upside of this is Germany can't tap that North Atlantic Ocean unit. So whereas it could tap a unit in Norwegian, but I don't know what it can do with that support. You can't really do anything, right?
Move to Norwegian Sea, right?
Yeah, that's probably. But then it should have done that this turn if it was going to.
Technically, I could see like whatever. If you're worried about France moving to North Atlantic Ocean, you have more influence on North Atlantic Ocean by being in North Atlantic Ocean, moving to Norwegian, than you do by just being in Norwegian, right?
Yes.
So it technically does the thing, but whatever.
All right. Well, so. Yeah, there isn't really anything else to talk about this. Congratulations to Dan Lester for having 100% of the successful moves in the East. You are the only interesting player right now, according to our mathematical calculations.
In the East. In the East. Obviously in the West. Yeah. Although in the West, I will say, they lose points because they're walking away.
That is true. But if we're going purely by my mathematical formula, the West is currently, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times more interesting than the East. This is where the formula seems to fall apart, when people retreat.
Especially because, again, it's not like they're like, if Mikalis was retreating into, like, Denmark, Skagerrak, whatever, right? Like, if they were moving aggressively against Russia while retreating, that'd be one thing. Instead, they're not. Oh, whatever. Anyways, boring. Game started boring. Let's see if the game gets more interesting now.
Alright, full 1908. Let's go forward to that. That's a lot of moves that don't do anything. Wait, is he?
Oh my god.
I don't understand.
Oh, well.
Okay. Well, we do know something. Okay. The West is infinitely more interesting than the East this turn, because nothing in the East manages to move.
It's really incredible.
It looks like it is Italy, Austria, Turkey against Russia, Germany, right? But there's no progress possible in there. But I mean, Russia is also trying to make sure that Austria doesn't lose this dot. Austria is friends with everyone, but it doesn't matter right now. Everyone just is waiting for their chance later at getting dots, I guess. Okay, actually there is something important here, which is Russia manages to win a 50-50 guess, right? They could have support held Sevastopol with this Ukraine unit, and that was a potential thing that they needed to do, especially given it's a full turn and that's a supply center. They choose to support hold Galicia instead, successfully counter the fact that Austria is against them, and that Turkey decides to go for this move. So very well done to Ruben on predicting that correctly and going for the riskier strategy and having it pay off. But yeah, nothing else going on in the East. And then the West, I don't even want to look at this, man. What's going on?
Hey, London gets convoyed back to Picardy, man.
Yeah.
Progress.
That's something that happens. What is... Okay, so this has to be an arranged bounce in Paris, I assume?
Not necessarily, but I think they both I suspect they both expect this to happen. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Look, why is Russia in Irish Sea? It's presumably to help out in getting into English Channel, right? But then you got one fleet covering your north. I hate that. I think Germany is gonna stab you. I don't know what to say about this.
You know what's fun, CaptainMeme? You don't have any builds, so you can do power rankings.
Oh, God. No.
Meme, nothing changed on the board, so you can clearly just lock in the power rankings.
Okay, things did change since the last power rankings. They didn't change since the last year, right?
Yes. Well, years have passed, right? That's what's changed. We're closer to the end of the game now, so position is less and less valuable, and it's more and more about the dots.
I am going to move Austria up just a tiny bit as respect for still being alive, which I did not think was going to be the case. But you are still in last place. Sorry, Jake. Then... Oh my god. Okay, I'm putting Russia in last at the moment because I think this Russian position falls apart. There's no way that this Russian position wins the game unless someone gives them the win. They are having to compete based on guesses in the south. They have no potential growth. They are incredibly vulnerable to a German stab in the north. Basically, their only shot is managing to get into a supply center with that North Atlantic Ocean fleet, right? Irish Sea Fleet now, and managing to get a build and convert that into some kind of position, but I don't see how that's going to work for them. I think otherwise he's pretty reliant on someone donating him centers. Maybe there's a world where he manages to work with Italy against Turkey, but that just feels so hard to make progress on. I don't know what you would do. So he's in 5th place in my book. As for these others, I think Germany has to be in first purely based on how open Russia is in the north to him. I can see him getting the most centers out of anyone here. Second, Bradley's managed to pull back his position considerably and stop any potential progress being made for the most part, I think. But does that convert into being able to get dots? I don't think it really does. How much is he on right now? He's on 7. And he selected his power first. And that's going to be a big problem for him. Italy, I don't see Italy really getting dots either. I'm going to put Italy in 4th place, because I think that the only dot that he can realistically pick up anytime soon is Budapest. I'm going to have... So Dan has the tiebreak against everyone, so I'm going to keep these in this order then. Germany first because of the Russian openness. Turkey in second because tiebreak potential. I think that's going to be very important in a game like this. Bradley in third because France. And because he's managed to maintain a pretty good position, to be fair, despite having everyone attacking him. And Italy in 4th. Those are the contenders in my eyes. I don't think Russia has that much of a shot anymore, unfortunately. Alright, Ezio, any comments on those? Or shall we move ahead?
Seems reasonable.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I don't know what you want from me.
Alright, well, I want your opinions on Spring 1909 and the potential interestingness of this turn. Actually, this does look like an interesting turn. There is plenty of movement that is actually forwards. Anything you want to talk about first?
Well, not the East, because the East is still boring. Like, infinitely more interesting than previously, but, like, still is, like, Venice is in Tyrolia, and Smyrna's in Aegean, hardly crazy moves. But, so yeah, in the West, actually, so yeah, we've talked about the East. East is done. Then in the West, it's like Holland takes London because Bradley finally missed a guess.
Yeah, was there a way that he could... Yeah, he could counter that with just the support into London. He goes and covers Liverpool instead. I mean, he seems to be very set on getting that Russian unit out of Irish Sea. So he managed to accomplish that, but yes, it was at the cost of London. And a convoyed army, no less. That is going to be painful for him.
Yeah, I mean, London is lost for good now.
Bradley does...
I think
Sorry, go on.
I think North Atlantic was expecting Norway up to Norwegian and was expecting to bounce there, because then Irish Sea would have been forced to retreat to Wales or to disband. But since North Atlantic Ocean got in, that fleet stays on the board, and it's going to continue to be a pain in the ass forever.
Yeah. He did at least manage to take Burgundy back, but it comes at the cost of Picardy as well, which is a shame, because the one thing that this convoy into London did was make Belgium a little bit vulnerable, and this is going to stop Belgium from being particularly vulnerable, right? Having that unit in Picardy.
Yeah. And London has the convoy over, so London is still safe, right? There's nothing vulnerable.
Yeah, I wonder if there might be some French-Italian cooperation on Munich on this turn. It seems possible, right?
Seems necessary,
Yeah.
right?
But then Mikalis can just throw the support hold from Bohemia on it. Maybe Nicolas taps that? I guess we will see. We didn't actually look at what exactly happened on this front, because it was a guess last time, right? And this time Austria decides to support hold Galicia. And Galicia tries to move into Romania. So Austria has flipped sides. And then Italy tried to support Romania up to Galicia, which didn't happen either. I wonder if Dan Lester was thinking maybe my allies are tipping off Ruben as to what to play in defense so that I don't make any progress, because that's very reasonable to think at this point in the game. You got 2 years left, right? So he tells his allies, okay, we're going for Galicia, and then goes for Sevastopol instead. But it doesn't work, sadly for him. Any more thoughts, Ezio?
I mean, just that we're nearing the end of the game, right? This is spring of 09. You got this year and another year.
Yep.
And so, like, this is where we expect the board to get shaken up, right? People are like, they're going to try to grab their dots and maybe stab their allies to try to get over the finish line. But do you expect to see any of that happening?
Potentially. I mean, I'm just trying to think, as each power, what is your goal going into the end game? France's win equity just went down a lot with losing London, I think. Because they've now gone down to 6, they also lose every tiebreak.
And Germany is also up to 8, right? So
yes.
Their main enemy is getting stronger, so...
Yeah, you need to get people coordinating against Germany, which I think you reasonably can, especially with that potential attack on Munich. But that doesn't benefit you directly in terms of supply center count. I don't know where France is. Well, I mean, if you talk Italy into supporting you into Munich, but I feel like Italy will want to be the one supported into Munich. We'll see how that goes for them. I think France's chances dropped a lot that turn. Turkey still... I think no matter how this goes, it's going to be an incredibly close finish, right? And the tiebreak is going to be very important, which is good, because I didn't know the tiebreak until Ezio told me that I should really get it at the start of this game.
Almost like I've seen the game before.
Shall we go ahead to fall 1909?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright. See if things shake up. Is that shaking up? There's a lot of red arrows. It looks like Italy and Turkey failed to coordinate over Budapest, and Jake survives another turn. Amazing. And Russia does manage to counter the Turkish move yet again. And then up here, Russia is back in Irish Sea again. Oh my god. It was an attempted take on English Channel, it looks like, but yeah, that did not work out for them because France played the correct defense against that, tapping everything that could attack it, or well, that could support an attack against it. Yeah. So not a lot actually changes on the board, and importantly, there wasn't any attack on Munich, although it looks like Mikalis did prepare for it by tapping that Tyrolia unit, and the Burgundy unit from Picardy. So, that's, yeah. Anything you want to say about this?
Just that France pulling out like this doesn't... I don't know what... Like, I feel like there needed to be some coordination on Munich, right? But there isn't, and if France and Italy don't coordinate, then it's just all over it.
Yeah, but they couldn't have done anything this turn anyway because Picardy and Bohemia tapped both the attackers, right? So maybe they would still coordinate later on? It's hard to say. I will say only one French unit is adjacent to Marseille again now, so I would not be surprised if in the spring turn Nicolas YOLOs into Piedmont and Lyon because he needs that extra dot. He is only on 6 right now, and the leaders are on 7. Well, Germany is about to be on 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
It's like isn't Mid-Atlantic Ocean going to cover Spain, right?
Yeah, that would make sense, I suppose. But then Bradley needs to get a dot here too, right? He needs to get 2 dots most likely. How is he going to do that if he goes back to Spain? I guess how is he going to do that anyway? He's probably not, but he's got to try.
Yeah, right. Like he can't. He needs to get like Tunis given to him or something. So.
You know what he could do? He could convoy Gascony up to Liverpool and then have 2 on Edinburgh that way. Although I don't know that. Well, there's still
Works.
A bunch of.
He left like convoy to Clyde, but then he loses Liverpool in exchange. Yeah, no, it's
that doesn't work. I don't know how to get out of this position as Bradley. It just the tiebreak order kind of screws you, even if you do manage to get lucky. All right. Well, there is going to be a build, so we can go through to winter if you're good to.
Yeah, we can do it.
All right. Winter 1909. Build Army Kiel. Disband Fleet Norwegian Sea. Was there a better disband for Bradley? Probably not. I think he... Well, Yeah, I was thinking maybe Fleet English Channel if you want to focus, but, this isn't going to do anything right now anyway, I guess. Maybe the one chance would be if Russia would support you through to North Sea or something like that, but I don't know what that would have done, ultimately. Alright, so, yeah, an Army Kiel, I mean, it's not going to get anywhere by the end of the game, but it does protect Row, which is important here. Okay, shall we move to the spring of the final year?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, spring 1910. At the end of this year, we will have a world champion of diplomacy for 2026. Right. What is going on? Okay, so Mikalis is going for the stab on Ruben, which at the same time, Bradley doesn't push his advantage on London or anything. I say his advantage, he didn't really have an advantage, but he doesn't even try to push for London, or
Belgium, right?
Yeah.
Or nothing.
Which I think means that Germany just has this on lock, because they are going to get the +1 there, which brings them to 9. Can anyone match 9? Turkey's on 7 right now. Italy is on 6. Which Turkey needs to get 2 dots to win. Is there any way they do that? They move up to Albania to put pressure on Trieste. I was expecting the YOLO over here, because even if you lose Ionian Sea, you get the retreat into Tyrrhenian Sea, you get a 50-50 chance of covering it, and you get the potential of a dot here, right? But Nicolas chooses not to go for that. Maybe knowing that he doesn't have a shot at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Germany is already in first place, and Germany is getting an extra dot in the north, so everyone else needs to get, multiple dots given to them at the end of the game for them to win.
Yes. So. And Turkey is the only person who can potentially do it, I think, and I don't see Turkey managing to do it. They would need to get Sevastopol. I mean, actually, of anyone, Russia is probably the most likely to go, screw you, Germany. Here, Turkey, have my dot, right? Given this situation, it's clearly not agreed. But, does that... Actually, that would get Dan across the line, because Russia would also be able to support this move into Budapest, right?
Yeah.
And that would get...
And then Dan would have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, Dan would get up to 9. I think those are the 2 ways I can see this game end. Either Mikalis wins, based on pure dot count, or Dan wins based on getting the last 2 dots given to him by Russia as a result of Mikalis going for this stab. Shall we
That
go
said,
ahead?
Ruben wasn't in contention to win, right? Ruben
No,
was
not
only on
really.
6.
So
So, unclear how pissed Ruben's going to be.
we'll see. Shall we go through to the 4?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, final turn. This will reveal the world champion. That is not Turkey getting given dots. In fact, Turkey supports the Italian through as a goodbye. Oh, after this whole time, Jake dies. No. I was rooting for you, buddy. But hey, managing to make it to 1910 on the top board, especially after that start, was pretty incredible. Anyway, that's not supposed to be the focus of this turn. We get Germany getting that extra dot, going up to 9 supply centers. The only other SC change is this one of Italy getting an extra 1, brings them up to 7, which is even with Turkey, but it's nowhere near enough. So that will give the win to, well, that will be the win for Mikalis Kamaritis in Germany here. Well played to him. I mean, it was a pretty fantastic game, I think, all things considered. There were a lot of turns where I was scratching my head a little bit, but it was balance of power play to the extreme.
Balance of power is boring.
How dare you?
Nobody did anything. Boo.
I think there were plenty of things that happened. But yes, we can leave that to the viewers to judge. Yeah, it's pretty incredible for us as well. Obviously, we did know about this result, the final result going in. I tried not to let that bias anything I was saying. But Mikalis is someone we've known for a very, very long time, right? And played with on web diplomacy pretty often. So I just want to say an extra congratulations to him for making it as world champion of diplomacy now.
Yeah, it's tough that he can, like, lord this over us for forever.
That is probably true. Well, he can't lord it over you if you win the world championship as well. Maybe you should go do that.
Thanks. Yeah, good advice.
He also, he sort of had home advantage, right? Even though he doesn't actually live in Greece. He is Greek or half Greek, so it will have been doubly great for him to win in his ancestral homeland. Well done, Mikalis.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
It's awesome. And it also goes to show that if you play online, if you play press diplomacy, maybe you should give it a go at face-to-face. These tournaments can be awesome, right? Ezio, you can confirm that. You went to Athens.
Oh yeah, face-to-face diplomacy is a ton of fun. I love it as well, in addition to online. And the World Championships are they're always such a spectacle. People care a lot about this. It's a great experience. People take the games seriously, but not so seriously because they recognize there's a bunch of new players here. We had almost 100 players in this event. It's a great time. I really strongly recommend it. This year in 2027 it's going to be in Chicago, I think, and then in 2028 it's going to be in Melbourne. So
yeah,
make your plans. Make it happen.
There's a little controversy over the location going into 2027. There are 2 different places that have declared themselves as the World Championship.
No, there isn't. There's the one.
But yeah, so we'll probably call them going into that year the like Community World Championship, which is the one in Chicago, and the Renegade World Championship, who are the publishers of diplomacy. They're hosting their own one in Las Vegas. So you can go to either of them if you want to. We'll probably be at Chicago if we're at either of them, right? But yeah. Anyway.
Currently, I'm planning on being to every WDC for a long time because I'm trying to win, and I'm never going to. But I'm going to keep trying.
There you go. If you're a DiploStrats viewer and want to go... Well, okay. So actually, first thing to say, because I realize I haven't said this in this entire commentary, the World Championship sounds super intimidating, but it is open to everyone. And these, like, the top board is going to be very intimidating, all things considered, but there are a lot of games that happen in the qualifying rounds and so on, and that's all, like, open to everyone. At the end of the day, face-to-face tournaments tend to just be an excuse. Well, I mean, they're also like competitive, but they're an excuse for enough people to get together to play a game that we all love, right? And that's not something that happens at home all that often.
Yeah.
So you will be very welcome regardless of your skill level, even at WorldDipCon. In fact, I think that's why the official name is WorldDipCon rather than the World Championships, because they don't want to scare people away. So first off, you are more than welcome to go to that, even if you have no experience in diplomacy or almost no experience in face-to-face. You should probably learn the rules before you go, but that's basically all you need to do. Secondly, Ezio will be at them, so you can get your copy of diplomacy signed or whatever you want to do. And you can hopefully...
for me to sign. Oh my god.
And you should...
But in this context, there are a lot of beginners who play. So at these WorldDipCons, it is common to have a bunch of people show up who haven't played very much, usually from the local scene. This year, for example, there were a bunch of Greek players who showed up, and many of them had played as few as 3 games before. Like, I've played games with people who this was their first time playing on a specific country in my games. So it is common for there to be new players showing up. It's rare for new players to also travel because flights are expensive. So if you haven't played much diplomacy at all, probably don't travel for the World Championship. But like, hey, if you're local in Chicago or in Melbourne, you should do it. And you should just play a lot ahead of time so that you're an experienced player, and then it makes sense to travel.
Yeah, that makes sense. And if you're at WorldDipCon, you can help Ezio win. You shouldn't do that. You should do what you feel is right during the game. But I'm sure Ezio would appreciate some people there who know who he is and might be willing to help him.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. That's true.
All right. One final thing to say, the Diplomacy Broadcast Network also commentated this game and the entire tournament. We're only going to be talking about WorldDipCon, like the World Diplomacy Championship final, even though Ezio played in them. Ezio, I don't think you wanted to commentate any of the games you played, right?
I think that for these types of tournaments, the top board is the most important one, right? This one is the winner. There is a top board. Whoever won this wins the whole thing. And it happened relatively recently, right, last weekend. And so I wanted to get coverage of this top board out. It's fun. Like, I love commentating about someone that I know quite well in the diplomacy scene. I'm happy that HR won the World Championship, so I wanted to get this out. Maybe we'll do an analysis of some of my games later. But this is the top board, right? We like to talk about these winners and show their game to show them get the win. And I think that's what we did here. That
makes sense. But yeah, if you want a view on the wider tournament, on all the qualifying games, stuff like that, go check out the DBN commentary on it. I'll link it in the description below. And they also, of course, commentated this final board and had some interviews with the players on scene in that. So I think that's well worth checking out. All right, anything else to add, Ezio? I guess I should move this onto the final board state, but yeah. Anything else you want to add here?
Nah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.